Walking out of the exam room, Leo couldn't suppress a grin as he replayed the look on Khloe's face. Pure, unfiltered panic. It was a spectacular meltdown, and he was savoring it. For 3 years, Khloe had used his Aunt Brenda's desperation to curry favor with her parents as a license to mess with him. It felt good to finally return the favor. Leo hopped on his bike, ready to head home, but he didn't get far. Kevin Shion was waiting for him at the school gate, waving frantically. "Leo, man, I've been waiting forever. What took you so long? Got held up. Shouldn't you be heading home now that finals are over?" Kevin licked his lips, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "That's exactly why I can't go home. This is the last real break before graduation. We're hitting the gaming lounge tonight for an all-nighter. I even convinced my mom." "Nah, you go ahead," Leo said without a second thought. "How about a work this weekend?" "Work? Why? I thought you said you'd already saved up everything you needed for post-graduation stuff." "I had," Leo said, his good mood souring slightly. "But a couple of days ago, I ended up owing Isabelle Thornton $1,000. I gotta pay it back fast. You know me, I hate being in debt to anyone." He gave Kevin a short version of how his aunt had taken the money. Kevin's jaw dropped. He was furious on Leo's behalf, but knew there was nothing he could do. He let out a sigh. "Damn, man, that sucks. Well, if you need a gig, you should hit up Miles. He's always got something." "Good call," Leo said, his smile returning. "Tell you what, after graduation, I'll join you at the lounge. 3 days straight, no sleep." Kevin's eyes lit up. "You said it, man. Don't back out." After saying goodbye to Kevin, Leo made it home just before 6. The first thing he did before anything else was call Miles. Miles had been in the same middle school class as Leo and Kevin. His story was rough. His dad died of cancer shortly after he was born, and his mom remarried and had another kid. The new stepdad shipped him off to a boot camp-style boarding school and washed his hands of him. After Miles got bullied relentlessly, his grandparents couldn't stand it anymore and took him in, raising him themselves. He wasn't much of a student, but the kid was a born hustler. Every part-time job Leo had ever worked, Miles had found for him. Miles picked up on the second ring. "Leo, what's up?" "Hey, Miles, you got anything for me? I'm free all 3 days of Memorial Day weekend." "Actually, yeah, I'm working a gig this weekend myself. It's handing out flyers in a character costume. Pays cash daily, $150 a day. It's kind of grind, though." Leo didn't hesitate. "A grind is fine. All right, man. Meet me at 5th and Phoenix tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. After hanging up, Leo planned to make a quick dinner and get to bed early. For the next 3 days, he was trading in his role as a promising student for that of a grunt worker. He'd need all the energy he could get if he was going to spend his holiday being a corporate mascot. He just tied on an apron when his phone buzzed. A new text. "Isabelle, Fireboy and Watergirl. Duo Q." Now, Leo stared at the message, blinking. He read it again, making sure he wasn't seeing things. Was this really from Isabelle Thornton? Ever since he'd half-jokingly told her to spend more time online, she'd been dropping internet slang like it was her native language. TSK. So she's addicted to Fireboy and Watergirl now, he thought. And she's starting to give me orders? That's a bad habit. Can't let her get used to that. Not a chance, he muttered, putting his phone away with a dismissive sniff. Ding dong. 5 minutes later, Leo was standing in front of Isabelle's door, ringing the bell. He decided it was important to foster good, neighborly relations. The moment the chimes sounded, he heard a rapid pat-pat-pat of footsteps from inside. The door clicked open, and a light, floral scent wafted over him. Leo's breath caught in his throat. He just stared. Isabelle looked like she'd just gotten out of the shower. Her hair was still damp, tumbling over her shoulders. She wore a loose white t-shirt and a pair of shorts that left her long, pale legs completely bare. They seemed to glow in the hallway light. But what really froze him in place were her feet, bare, with toes painted a pale pink, looking impossibly delicate against the hardwood floor. She glanced at him, a faint blush rising on her cheeks, but her tone was as cool as ever. "Are you done staring?" Her voice snapped him out of it. "Ahem," he coughed, feeling his face heat up. "I wasn't looking at your legs." A ghost of a smile played on her lips. "Did I say you were?" Leo was stunned. Leo was embarrassed. Leo was socially deceased. Damn it. My brain is just legs. Where did my self-control go? "Well, come on in." "Oh, Leo, you're going to start drooling if you keep looking. Can't you be a little more subtle next time? You're making me blush." Once they were settled in front of the computer, Isabelle expertly launched Fireboy and Watergirl 2.0. The serious, focused expression on her face made Leo smile. She really was treating this simple browser game like a major AAA title. Then again, she'd never really played any games before. It made sense that she'd get hooked on one of the few she felt comfortable with. But was it really just the game she liked? Leo wasn't sure, and he was even less sure he wanted to find out. Shaking the thought away, he focused on the screen, a competitive grin spreading across his face. All right, Thornton, no more messing around. I feel unstoppable right now. It was 9 o'clock. They had been playing for nearly 3 hours, and, as expected, they'd beaten every level of the 2.0 version. Leo stood up to use the bathroom. As he came out, Isabelle's voice drifted from the living room. Leo, could you do me a favor? Grab me a pair of socks from the second drawer of my dresser in the closet. My feet are getting cold. Hee hee. Finally caught you when you had to go to the bathroom. Now you have to get my socks. Leo paused, glancing at the bedroom next to the bathroom, which she had converted into a massive walk-in closet. He remembered she'd been barefoot this whole time. At 9 p.m., the floors would definitely be chilly. Without overthinking it, he walked into the closet and opened the second drawer. He sucked in a sharp breath. His face flushed crimson. He had expected to find socks neatly folded in a container. He did not expect the entire drawer to be an arsenal of hosiery. Black sheer, white opaque, nude, lacy ankle socks, thigh highs, all still in their original packaging. He'd never seen such a display, and for a second, he was completely mesmerized. Worried she'd think he was doing something weird, he quickly grabbed a random package and hurried out. He handed them to her, his expression a little stiff. I just grabbed the first one I saw. Thanks, Isabelle said, nodding coolly as she took them and started putting them on. Her gleeful inner voice, however, was a different story. Ooh, so Leo likes the black ones. I knew it. Last time, when he was fixing my window, he kept talking about them but wouldn't admit it. Such a stubborn boy. Isabelle tore open the packaging and, right in front of Leo, began to pull the sheer black stockings on her feet. Putting on socks was a perfectly normal activity. So why, Leo wondered, did watching her do it feel so illicit? Especially the way she bent over slightly, smoothing the delicate fabric up her sleek, pale legs. It made the blood rush in his ears. From the corner of her eye, Isabelle saw his reaction. Head down, she hid a triumphant smirk. Leo's Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed hard. Since we finished the game, I should probably get going, he said, his voice a little hoarse. He turned to leave, terrified that if he stayed a second longer, his plan for an early night would be shot. He had just touched the doorknob when her voice floated from behind him. Leo, I'm a little hungry. He looked back. She had finished putting on the stockings, her fair skin now hinted at through the dark material. Leo wasn't an idiot. Isabelle could have food delivered by Lester at a moment's notice. The fact that she was mentioning her hunger just as he was about to leave could only mean one thing. She wanted him to stay. He decided to test the waters. So, you want to go grab some greasy food truck tacos? Too oily. Okay, there's a diner downstairs that has great soup. Want to try that? I hate cilantro. Then, how about I make you some ramen? I want 2 bowls. The slight frown on Isabelle's face smoothed away, replaced by a look of clear anticipation. Leo couldn't help but chuckle. Fine, come over to my place. I have just enough left for 2. Okay. Isabelle seemed to have shed some of her usual icy demeanor. At Leo's apartment, she didn't just sit obediently on the couch like last time. While he cooked, she wandered around, looking at this and that like a curious child. If it weren't for the perpetually impassive expression on her face, he might have thought she was her own, more cheerful twin sister. As he prepared the ramen, he replayed their conversation. She didn't want anything oily, and she didn't like cilantro. Interestingly, the ramen he'd made for her before was neither oily nor contained cilantro. From the moment she'd said, I'm a little hungry, she'd already known what she wanted. She'd just maneuvered him into offering it. Fine, he thought. Even if my heart is encased in concrete, what's the harm in making ramen for my neighbor? They sat across from each other at his small dining table, each with a steaming bowl of ramen. As he slurped his noodles, Leo realized that after all their recent interactions, they were more than just classmates and neighbors. They were friends. So he decided to be bold. Hey, Isabelle, you asked me what colleges I'm applying to, but I never got to ask you. Where are you thinking of going? My dad wants me to go back to New York to study. You're from New York? Isabelle shook her head. My parents are both from Crestview, but after my dad married Sharon, he moved his business headquarters to New York. It clicked for Leo. That's why she'd said she barely saw her father when she was young. He'd essentially started a new life in a new city after remarrying. The reason Isabelle refused to join him was likely because she didn't want to be so far from where her mother had passed away. And, of course, there was the other reason, the stepmother. So, are you going to go to college in New York? He asked, taking another bite. But this time, Isabelle didn't answer. Instead, she looked up, her gaze fixed on him. Leo, are you going to come play Fireboy and Water Girl with me tomorrow? Her abrupt change of subject caught him off guard. His immediate thought was to say, I can't, I have to work, but then he remembered his promise to play games with her over the break. He changed his answer. Yeah, of course. We already planned it, right? I'll come find you tomorrow. Isabelle blinked, a flicker of an unreadable emotion crossing her face. Then, her eyes curved into crescents, her lips tilted upward, and a pair of shallow dimples appeared on her cheeks. Okay. Leo didn't understand why she was suddenly so happy, and he forgot about his earlier question. He was just curious about something else. I thought you said you always go back to your family's estate for holidays. You're not going this time. If I go back to the estate, there's no one to play fire boy and water girl with me, she said, her eyes still crinkling with her smile. For a moment, all her usual aloofness vanished, like a corner of an iceberg melting unexpectedly in the sun. Leo stared, expecting to hear her inner thoughts, but there was nothing. Silence. For a split second, he felt like he'd grasped something important, but just as quickly, the feeling was gone. After returning from Leo's apartment, Isabelle sat alone on her couch, the warmth from their evening slowly fading. She'd been spending more time online recently and had come across a term for this feeling, withdrawal. Still, it's better than being at the estate, she murmured, a smile returning to her lips. Leo and I are just a door apart. She walked into her bedroom and pulled a picture frame from a drawer. The photo inside was a little girl who looked remarkably like her, bawling her eyes out, tears clinging to her chubby cheeks. Beside her stood a small boy, tightly clutching a lollipop and holding it out to her, his eyes filled with concern and a desire to comfort. Isabelle gently wiped the glass, her own eyes shimmering with a complex emotion. Ding dong. The doorbell rang. A jolt of excitement shot through her. Dropping the frame, she didn't even bother with slippers as she raced to the door. She thought it was Leo, but when she opened it, Lester was standing there. Her excitement vanished. Lester wore his usual kind smile. Miss Isabelle. Lester, come in. I won't stay long, miss. I just came to let you know that your father will be in Crestview for the next couple of days. I'm afraid you'll have to come back to the estate. Isabelle's brow furrowed. But isn't Dad abroad with Sharon? There was an issue with some of the documents for the partnership. He's postponed his trip, but I promised Leo we'd play games together this weekend. Lester gave a weary smile. If you don't come back, your father will certainly ask questions. How about this? I'll stay with you here during the day, but at night, you absolutely must come back to the estate with me. Otherwise, I'll have no way to explain it to him, especially since Mrs. Thornton is here as well. Though reluctant, Isabelle finally gave a small nod. I understand, Lester. Good. Please get some rest, miss. The first day of Memorial Day weekend, Leo dragged himself out of bed at 7. Some vacation, he grumbled. I only get to sleep in an extra hour. My body's made of iron, but my life is pure grunt work. He took the subway 6 stops to 5th and Phoenix. As he emerged from the station, he saw the lanky figure of Miles waving at him. Leo, over here. Leo frowned as he got closer. Miles, I haven't seen you in 2 weeks. You look like you've lost more weight. I told you to lay off that stuff. It's not good for you. I haven't been watching anything, I swear. Miles said defensively, then quickly changed the subject. Come on, we have to wear a work costume for this flyer gig. We need to go get changed. All right. 10 minutes later, Leo was staring in stunned silence at the costume Miles had just put on, a fluffy, bright pink bear suit. Miles, he said slowly, you call this a work costume? Hey, it's a costume you wear for work, right? Miles coughed. Come on, get yours on. We're handing out flyers for a new bakery. It makes sense that it's a little girly. Leo sighed, but eventually pulled on the identical pink bear suit. The young woman managing the bakery came over with a large box of flyers. Hey guys, she said, these are all the flyers you need to hand out over the next 3 days. And I have to go over a few rules with you. She cleared her throat. First, you can't just throw the flyers away. If we find out, we'll have to dock your pay. Second, it's a 6-hour shift with a 2.5-hour break for lunch. And third, she paused. Third, you can't talk while you're handing out flyers. Our corporate office wanted us to hire girls for this, but it's pretty tiring, and we're on a tight schedule. So, I'd really appreciate it if you guys could just stay quiet. It'll cause a lot of trouble for me if word gets back to corporate. Got it, Leo and Miles mumbled. With their instructions clear, they hit the streets and started handing out flyers within their designated area. At first, it wasn't so bad, but after 2 hours, Leo felt like he was suffocating inside the suit. Holy crap, he thought, sweat dripping down his forehead. This thing is heavy and hot as hell. No wonder no girls wanted to do this. He complained silently, but he was already here. Quitting now would mean the last 2 hours were for nothing. And when he remembered that the only reason he was doing this was because of his Aunt Brenda, his resentment intensified. Whatever. Her day of reckoning is coming soon. What's that saying? Justice may be delayed, but it will never forget to drop an anvil on your head. At 5 p.m., Leo and Miles finally finished their quota for the day. When they took off the costume heads, they were drenched in sweat, as if they just stepped out of the sauna. Miles, where did you find this job? Leo gasped, fanning himself with a flyer. This is worse than that time we did construction work. Being stuck in that thing is like walking around in a portable coffin. Miles grimaced. A friend who works as a temp agent told me about it. He said this bakery, A Taste of Summer, has gotten super popular in Crestview the last couple of years. They needed a big push for this new location. Leo had seen them on TikTok. Rumor was that A Taste of Summer was founded by 2 college students and now had franchises everywhere. TSK, some people have all the luck. All right, Leo, same time tomorrow, Miles said, looking exhausted. I'm out of here. After a day like this, even Ultraman's color timer would be blinking red. Leo said goodbye and dragged his own exhausted body home. A long shower helped him feel human again. He crashed on his bed for a while before getting up and heading next door to 1003 to ring the bell. He pressed it several times, but no one answered. Oh, he muttered. We were supposed to play Fireboy and Watergirl. Why isn't she home? After waiting a few more minutes, he gave up and went back to his apartment, planning to lie down for a bit and try again later. He flopped onto his bed and was asleep almost instantly. When Leo woke up, the sky outside was brightening, and the crushing fatigue in his body was gone. Whoa, I really passed out, he murmured, stretching. It's probably almost 8 p.m. Right. He reached for his phone to check the time, and his eyes nearly popped out of his head. May 1st, 7:12 a.m., sunny holy crap. It's 7 in the morning? I slept from 6 p.m. all the way to the next day. Leo was stunned. No wonder he felt so refreshed. He'd slept for a solid 12 hours. He checked his Discord messages. Nothing from Isabelle. He figured she must have had something come up yesterday. Otherwise, she would have been blowing up his phone, demanding their duo cue. Not thinking much of it, he grabbed a quick breakfast and rushed to the subway to meet Miles. Another grueling day followed. By the end of it, he was as tired as a dog. This time, however, the bakery manager approached them with a smile. Hey guys, thank you so much for your hard work these past 2 days. We expected this to take 3 days, but you've already handed out all the flyers. She beamed at them. So, you don't need to come in tomorrow. We originally agreed on $150 a day, but I'm going to pay you out at $200 a day instead. Leo and Miles exchanged a look of delighted surprise. Pockets full with the $400 they'd just earned, they headed home. On the subway, Leo's phone buzzed nonstop. It was the class group chat. Holy crap, the mock final scores are out. That was fast. Okay, I did 10 points better than last time. I'll take it. First and second in our class are Leo and Isabelle again, no surprise. 691 and 689. That puts them at second and third in the entire grade. Insane. Whoa, guys, did you hear? Last place in the grade this time was Khloe. She only got a 264. For real? Khloe's a dance major, but her grades were never that bad. Did she just not show up for a whole section? 264? That's wild. Leo scrolled through the messages, unfazed by his own score. As long as nothing went wrong, he consistently scored above 685. But he was surprised that Khloe hadn't even broken 300. He almost laughed out loud. Even if you got every multiple-choice question wrong on every subject except English, you wouldn't score that low. Looks like she didn't study at all while she was away at her auditions. No wonder she wanted to copy my paper. Leo felt a surge of satisfaction, the sweet taste of revenge. He felt the crisp bills in his pocket. $400. Combined with the $600 he'd gotten from Mark for helping him out, he now had exactly $1,000 to pay Isabelle back. After the mock final scores were released, some students celebrated, while others despaired. When Susan Chun saw her daughter Khloe's report card, her vision went black, and she nearly fainted. Fighting back a wave of fury, she said through gritted teeth, "Khloe, I promised you before the exam that if your total score was just 20 points higher than last time, I would buy you those concert tickets." Her voice trembled. "But you scored 100 points lower. Last place in the entire senior class. Are you trying to give me a heart attack?" Hearing the rage in her mother's voice, Khloe's eyes welled up, and she burst into tears. She sobbed, her voice thick with anguish. "What? It's all Leo's fault. If it weren't for him, I never would have scored so low." "Wah, it's all Leo's fault?" Seeing her daughter so distraught, Susan's anger subsided slightly. She frowned. "Khloe, stop crying for a minute and tell me. Why is this Leo's fault?" Sensing her mother's anger diminishing, Khloe didn't calm down, She cried even harder, sobbing so violently she could barely catch her breath. The more distressed she seemed at the mention of Leo's name, the more Susan's remaining anger evaporated, replaced by suspicion that there was more to the story. Susan wiped her daughter's tears and pulled her into a hug. Shush, it's okay, Khloe. Just tell me what happened. You know I'm not the kind of person who jumps to conclusions. Why, Mom? Khloe cried into her mother's shoulder for a long time before she finally started to calm down. She knew that if she wanted those Shawn Mendes tickets after getting such a horrible score, she had to pin all the blame on Leo. Of course, she couldn't tell her mother the truth, that she tried to copy Leo's answers and he'd sabotaged her. She would have to bend the truth. With a few final sniffs, she began, her voice choked with emotion. Mom, do you remember a while ago I told you on the phone that Leo gave me a watch to apologize? Yes, I remember. You said he was too embarrassed to give it to you himself, so he had your Aunt Brenda do it. Wow. That was all a lie. Leo never apologized to me. That was Aunt Brenda acting on her own, just using his name. Khloe started crying again. I didn't know at the time, so the next day, I bought him breakfast to try and make things right. But he gave it away to someone else and humiliated me in front of everyone. He said he never sent the watch, that only an idiot would spend that much money on me. What? Susan's face turned to ice. So you're saying Brenda made the whole thing up, Leo never actually apologized, and then he humiliated you in front of other students? She instantly understood Brenda's motive. She wanted to smooth things over with Khloe as quickly as possible, so Susan would help her husband, Carl, get a job. Yes, Khloe continued pitifully. I was so upset after that. I couldn't sleep for days before the exam. I couldn't concentrate when I was studying, and during the test, I filled in the wrong bubbles on my answer sheet. Mom, I'm so sorry. I let my feelings for Leo get to me, and it ruined my focus. I failed, and I've embarrassed you. I'm so useless. It's all my fault. Now that she knew the truth, Susan's expression turned ugly. A storm of anger and pity churned within her. She hugged Khloe tighter. Khloe, this is not your fault. Don't apologize to me. If it wasn't for that manipulative woman, Brenda, Leo never would have had the chance to treat you like that, and it never would have affected your exams. I know my daughter. If this hadn't happened, you would have done even better than before. After a moment, Susan took out her phone. Don't be sad, sweetie. I'm sending you the money for the concert tickets right now. Forget about your score and focus on feeling better. Sniffle. Thanks, Mom. But I should probably just stay home and study. I don't deserve to go to a concert after failing so badly. Nonsense. I want you to go, so you'll go. Don't you give it a second thought. At that, Khloe threw her arms around her mother and burst into another round of loud sobs. Though inside, she was ecstatic about the concert. Susan's eyes softened with affection as she patted her daughter's back. Then, her expression hardened with disgust. And this isn't over. Your aunt and Leo are going to answer for this. They need to understand that they can't just bully Susan Chen's daughter and get away with it. Once Khloe was settled, Susan took her phone and stepped outside to call Brenda. The moment Brenda picked up, her voice was dripping with fake sweetness. Hello, Director Chun. My son Derek told me the mock final scores came out. I'm sure Khloe did wonderfully. Susan let out a cold laugh. Oh, she did. Thanks to you and your nephew. My daughter came in last place in her grade. First place? Oh, congratulations, Director Chun. For a dance student to get first in academics is... Wait, last place. Brenda's breath hitched as she processed the words. Last place? And it was her and Leo's fault? What happened? Susan's voice was arctic. What else? Brenda, you have some nerve. To get me to help your husband find a job, you dared to forge an apology to my daughter. What do you take Khloe for? What? Director Chun, please let me explain. It's all a misunderstanding. No need to explain. Your husband's job is off the table. Furthermore, because Leo humiliated Khloe in public after your little stunt, she was an emotional wreck. She messed up her answer sheet and got last place in her grade. If you ever want to have a civil relationship with my family again, you will bring Leo to my daughter and have him apologize to her face. Otherwise, we can pretend we've never met. Director Chun, click. Brenda stood frozen as the line went dead. After a long moment, fury flooded her senses. Leo, you goddamn jinx, she shrieked. Are you trying to ruin this family? Her face was flushed, and she stomped her foot on the ground. She couldn't lose her connection to Khloe's family. Not only would Carl's job prospect be gone, but all the other favors she might need from Susan in the future would vanish too. Her son, Derek, who had been gaming nearby, looked up in annoyance. Mom, what are you freaking out about now? You're being so loud. Brenda ripped the headphones off his head. Games, games, games. That's all you ever do. Your good-for-nothing cousin is about to destroy our family. Now get on your phone and ask your friends where that little brat is renting a room. If I don't skin him alive for this, my name isn't Brenda. Seriously, Derek muttered, reluctantly closing his game. Why can't that guy just drop dead already? He started texting his friends, trying to find Leo's off-campus address. The elevator doors opened with a soft ding. Leo saw Lester and two burly men in black suits moving furniture into Isabelle's apartment. Lester? What's all this? Lester, startled, turned around. His expression shifted to surprise when he saw Leo. Leo, you're finally back. Oh, right. We're just bringing in some new furniture for Miss Isabelle. Since she'll be living here for a while, we wanted to make sure she's comfortable. Okay, well, where's she? Leo peered into apartment 1003, but didn't see her. At the question, Lester's expression changed. He handed the box he was holding to one of the other men and sighed. Miss Isabelle has gone back to the estate. The estate? What's wrong with that? Why the long face? Leo could tell something was off. Lester, is there something you're not telling me? Did you promise to play games with her over the break? Yeah, I've been working part-time these last couple of days, so I only get back around this time. I even went over to her place yesterday evening, but nobody was home. Working? Lester looked stunned, then broke into a weary smile. Leo's brow furrowed. Is something wrong? Did something happen to her? No, don't worry, Leo. As long as I'm around, nothing will happen to her. It's just, you probably didn't tell her you had to work, did you? Starting yesterday, she woke up early and waited all day for you to come over so you could play games together. By the afternoon, she still hadn't heard anything from you. She waited right up until the moment she absolutely had to go back to the estate. Lester's eyes filled with a pained sympathy. This morning, she had me bring her back here to wait for you again. I told her, Miss, why don't you just call Leo? Maybe he forgot. But she insisted you would remember and just sat stubbornly in the hallway waiting. She only left, reluctantly, about an hour ago when it was time to return to the estate. Leo was speechless. After a long moment, he asked in a strained voice, why didn't she just knock on my door? She would have known I wasn't home. That's what I said. Lester sounded helpless. But she said that you told her you would come find her. He clearly thought his young miss was being a little too stubborn. But Leo didn't see it that way. A complicated mix of emotions churned in his gut. He could picture it perfectly. Isabelle, waking up at dawn, waiting for him. When he didn't show up by the afternoon, she would have just moved out into the hallway to keep watch. She wouldn't call, text, or knock, no matter what Lester said. Because on the night before the break, he had told her he would come find her. Leo knew, with a sudden, painful clarity, why she was so fixated on his promise. It had to be a grim echo of her childhood, waiting alone for a father who never came. Her dad must have said the same thing. Isabelle, I'll come see you tomorrow. And he must have broken that promise, Leo thought. But she didn't think I would. The realization landed like a punch to the gut, filling him with a deep sense of guilt. He never would have imagined that a simple, offhand promise would mean so much to her. It wasn't about the game. It was about him being there with her. Lester, when will she be back tomorrow? I'm sorry, Leo. I can't say for sure. Her father and stepmother are both at the estate for the next few days. When she can leave depends entirely on when they do. Okay, I understand. Leo nodded, said goodbye to Lester, and went back to his apartment. He showered, cooked, and scrolled through TikTok, but his mind wasn't on any of it. He felt restless and distracted. Finally, he pulled out his phone and sent Isabelle a message. Leo, I'm so sorry. I didn't get a chance to tell you, but I've been working part-time the last 2 days, morning till evening. I didn't forget about playing games. I knocked on your door the first night I got home, but you weren't there. I ran into Lester this afternoon, and he told me you'd been waiting for me. I didn't realize you were only here during the day. If you can, will you be back tomorrow? I don't have to work. We can play all day. He sent the message and stared at the chat window. 10 minutes. 30 minutes. An hour passed. No reply. Damn. Is she angry? From her perspective, he had completely stood her up. A strange, uncomfortable feeling settled in his chest. That night, he tossed and turned in bed, not falling asleep until sometime in the early hours of the morning. Bang, bang, bang. The next morning, Leo was jolted awake by a frantic pounding on his door. He shot up in bed, his first thought a jolt of hope. Isabelle's back, but as his head cleared, he knew it couldn't be her. Isabelle would never knock so aggressively. So, who was it? Leo threw on some clothes and opened the door, his mind clouded with confusion. The sight that greeted him was the furious, distorted face of his Aunt Brenda. Aunt Brenda? Leo stammered, shocked. He couldn't believe she'd found where he lived. And he definitely couldn't believe she was here at the crack of dawn. Brenda confirmed it was him and immediately pointed a finger in his face, her voice a screech. Leo, so this is where you've been hiding, you goddamn jinx. You ungrateful little bastard. You worthless piece of trash. Are you trying to destroy our family? I cleaned up your mess for you. I apologized to Khloe for you. Even if you can't stand her, couldn't you just pretend you were the one who apologized? No, you had to run your mouth and let her mother find out. I wasted years of my life raising you. Brenda launched into her usual tirade, a storm of accusations without any context. Leo felt nothing, not a single ripple of emotion. He was right. His years of assessment of his aunt were spot on. She would never change, and that was a good thing. The more she acted like this, the less guilt he would feel about what came next. Aunt Brenda, he said coolly, I have no idea what you're talking about. I've never wanted to destroy your family. Oh, don't play dumb with me, she spat. You're not stupid. You knew perfectly well that I gave Khloe that watch in your name to apologize for you. Why couldn't you just go along with the lie? Why did you have to tell her it wasn't from you? And not only that, you humiliated her in public. Well, congratulations. Because of your reckless behavior, Khloe couldn't sleep before her exams. She got last place in the entire grade on her mock finals because you stressed her out so much she messed up her answer sheet. Now her mother has called me, screaming, and made it perfectly clear she will never help your uncle get that job. This is all your fault, you bringer of bad luck. Public humiliation, insomnia, messed up her answer sheet, last place is my fault? Leo couldn't help it. He laughed. She really is a master manipulator, he thought. The ability to twist reality is second to none. Aunt Brenda, he said, his face a neutral mask. I know you won't believe me, but I'm telling you anyway. First, I didn't humiliate Khloe. She was the one making a scene in front of everyone. Second, the reason she messed up her answer sheet is because she tried to copy my answers and failed. That's why she got last place. What kind of bullshit is that? Brenda shrieked, spittle flying from her mouth and landing on his face. Her features were contorted with rage. You think I believe that nonsense? You think you're so smart just because you got a scholarship? You just got lucky. Leo calmly wiped the spit from his cheek. Aunt Brenda, I'm third in our grade. My score on the mock final was 691. If that's not good enough for you, fine. But Khloe is a dance major who rarely breaks 400. My score is more than high enough to be worth copying. A flicker of surprise crossed Brenda's face. She had never once gone to a parent-teacher conference for Leo since he'd started high school. She couldn't have cared less about his grades. As far as she was concerned, he wasn't her son, so his academic success was irrelevant. She only cared about Derek. Hearing that he was third in the grade with a 691 left her momentarily stunned. How is that possible? Leo is actually that good at school. The shock lasted only a second before she reverted to her usual irrational self. Her eyes filled with scorn. You say you're third, so you're third? Besides, Khloe is a sweet, well-behaved girl. She would never do something like cheat. Just because you have a dirty mind doesn't mean everyone else does. Fine, Leo said, shrugging. If you don't believe me, then there's nothing more to say. But Brenda wasn't finished. She took an aggressive step forward, crossing the threshold into his apartment. Of course you have nothing to say when you've been caught in a lie. You're coming with me to apologize to Khloe right now. No, she failed because she tried to cheat. Why should I apologize for that? And telling her the watch wasn't from you, was that right? Of course it was. If you hadn't interfered in the first place, none of this would have happened. Seeing Leo's nonchalant attitude, Brenda exploded. She grabbed a decorative vase from the entryway table and hurled it to the floor. Crash! So now you're saying it's my fault for trying to help you? She screamed, her face beet red. I'm telling you, you're going to apologize to Khloe today, or you can forget about ever coming home again. Leo glanced up, past his aunt's furious face to a spot she hadn't noticed. The small security camera in the hallway. A secret thrill shot through him, but his expression remained calm. Home? Aunt Brenda, I haven't had a home a long time. What you call home is a place for your family of 3. When have you ever treated me like I was part of it? The question was a direct hit. Brenda was speechless for a moment, clearly not expecting him to be so blunt. You, fine, say whatever you want, but you've made Khloe's mother furious, and you're going to fix it. As soon as you do, you can go wherever you want. You can end up dead in a ditch like your good-for-nothing parents for all I care. Aunt Brenda, I think you're the one who's confused. What makes you think I would ever agree to apologize to Khloe and her mother? Leo genuinely wanted to laugh sometimes. He couldn't comprehend the logic of people like Khloe and Brenda. How could they be so wrong, yet so convinced of their own righteousness? On what grounds? On the grounds that I raised an ungrateful wolf like you for 13 years. Oh, you mean you raised me for 13 years using my parents' death benefits? What nonsense are you talking about? You think your parents' benefits were that much? They ran out a long time ago. A flash of panic crossed Brenda's face. Feeling her position weaken, she puffed out her chest. And so what if I did? What are you going to do about it? Leo's lips curled into a cold smile. She'd finally said it. He glanced meaningfully toward the hallway camera again. The moment of reckoning is today. Seeing that Leo was resolute, Brenda resorted to her old tactic. She plopped down on the floor and began to wail, trying to emotionally blackmail him into submission. You ungrateful child. How could you say such things to me? After all I've done, raising you for so many years, this is how you treat me? You ungrateful wolf. I must have been blind to ever take you in. Her sobs were piercing, echoing through the hallway. Leo frowned, fighting to keep the triumphant glee off his face. Aunt Brenda, do you really have to be like this? He said in a deliberately calm voice. You know this isn't my fault, but you're still trying to force me to apologize. You just want your husband to get a good job. If you had just been honest with me about it, maybe I would have gone with you. But instead, you had to pile on all these false accusations. Brenda was relentless. I don't care. If I say you're guilty, you're guilty. If you don't come with me today, I'm not leaving. I don't want to hear your damn excuses. Leo's eyes narrowed. Good. Keep talking. Love to hear it. After all, this is all evidence. He knew she was committed to her shameless performance. Silently, he pulled out his phone and typed 3 numbers, 9-1-1. At the same time, he sent a text to his lawyer, moving up the planned day of reckoning to today. Aunt Brenda, if you're going to be this unreasonable, I'll have to call the police. Go ahead, call them. Let them come and judge what kind of ungrateful monster you are. Wah, my life is so hard. Leo didn't hesitate. He was about to press the call button when a clear voice cut through the noise, stopping him cold. It's just a job. I can arrange one for Leo's uncle. You can stop harassing him now. Isabelle, tall and elegant, stepped out of the elevator. Her cool, clear eyes swept over the shattered vase on the floor, a flicker of anger in their depths. She walked straight to Leo and gave his sleeve a gentle tug, offering him a reassuring look. I'll help you. Isabelle, what are you? Leo stared at her, completely surprised. Facing him, Isabelle's lips curved into a small, gentle smile. We made a plan, didn't we? To play fire boy and water girl. Yeah, but this time I'm not backing down, Leo said, his gaze hardening as he looked at Brenda. The evidence is all there. She's a parasite. There's no reason to compromise with her. He pressed the call button on his phone and reported the situation, his eyes flicking up to the camera in the corner of the hall. That footage was going to be the final blow. Brenda finally took notice of the newcomer. You again, she snapped. I let it slide at the school. But a young girl who makes a habit of eavesdropping? I guess your parents didn't teach you any manners. I'm sorry, ma'am, Isabelle replied calmly. I didn't mean to listen in on your conversation. I live across the hall from Leo, and I happened to hear you as I was coming home. She gestured toward apartment 1003. Brenda's eyes widened in surprise. She hadn't expected the girl to be Leo's neighbor. In that case, maybe it really was a coincidence. Still, she snorted, if that's the case, then you should go home. What are you doing here? Meddling once was enough. This is a family matter. Are you planning on interfering again? Ma'am, I have no right to interfere in Leo's family matters. But as his friend, I just want to offer my help. Help? What kind of help can a little kid like you offer? Don't make me laugh. Brenda rolled her eyes, her tone dripping with scorn. A surge of anger rose in Leo's chest. He took Isabelle's arm and lowered his voice. You should go back inside. I can handle this. Once the police get here and sort this out, I'll come find you. You are not handling this alone. I'm staying with you, Isabelle said, her brow raised in a look that was not open to debate. A warmth spread through Leo's chest. Before he could say anything else, she turned back to Brenda. Ma'am, the only reason you're pressuring Leo like this is to secure a job for his uncle. But your methods are wrong. Leo has no obligation to do this for you. Brenda scoffed. Oomph. What does a little brat like you know? If it wasn't for this jinx, my husband would already have a job, making $7,000 a month. Besides, I'm his aunt, his legal guardian. He is obligated to help me. She paused, then added, whatever. I'm done wasting my breath on you. My husband's name is Carl. If you're so capable, get him a job. Otherwise, stop meddling. Ma'am, your request is unreasonable. Leo shouldn't be held responsible for your husband's career. Enforcing him like this is wrong, Isabelle stated firmly. Brenda laughed mockingly. Little girl, put your money where your mouth is. If you're so capable, get my husband a good job. If you can't, then get out of my sight and stop interfering in our family business. You're giving me a headache. Isabelle's brow furrowed. She hadn't expected Brenda to be so utterly irrational, twisting logic to suit her own needs. At that moment, Leo stepped in front of Isabelle, shielding her. Don't waste your breath on this leech. She'll never admit she's wrong. He He turned his icy gaze on Brenda. All pretense is gone. First, I'm absolutely not going with you to apologize to Khloe. If you want to suck up to her family, you can do it yourself. Second, this is my apartment. You trespassed and destroyed my property. How do you think the police are going to handle that? And third, he paused. Aunt Brenda, I might as well tell you the truth. I have records of how you and Uncle Carl have been misusing my parents' trust fund for years. I submitted everything to my lawyer just now. We're in the final stages of preparing the lawsuit against you. Lawsuit? Evidence? Lawyer? Brenda's eyes went wide. Panic flickered across her face. What did you just say, you ungrateful wolf? You're suing me? You hired a damn lawyer. You're breaking and entering today, and everything you just said is the most valuable evidence I have. Brenda whipped her head around. She was horrified to see a small security camera pointed directly at where she was standing. Finally, true fear dawned on her face. Damn it, that little brat, he planned this. You. Brenda's vision swam, and she staggered back, nearly collapsing. Just then, the police arrived. Seeing them, Brenda panicked even more and tried to bolt, but an officer stopped her. Hello, who called this in? I did, Leo said, raising his hand. After hearing the situation, the officer looked at Brenda with disapproval. Ma'am, this is unacceptable behavior. You can't resort to such extreme measures over a family dispute. You need to communicate properly. He continued, his tone becoming more serious. And the young man here says that, as his guardian, you've been misusing his parents' survivor benefits all these years. Let me inform you, misusing a trust fund like that is illegal. When he comes of age, he has the right to reclaim the remaining funds. And he tells me he's already hired a lawyer and is preparing to sue you. With every word, Brenda's face grew paler. It was all true. Despite her indignation, she didn't dare act out in front of the police. Her earlier arrogance vanished, replaced by a venomous glare directed at Leo. She tried to feign remorse. Yes, officer, I understand. I'll speak to him calmly now. Thank you for your trouble. You can go. I'm afraid not, ma'am. Given your earlier actions and the resident's wishes, you can't stay here right now. Even as his guardian, he has the right to have you removed if you continue to cause a disturbance. Brenda's fists clenched. She wanted to tear Leo to pieces. But helpless, she could only shoot him one last hateful look. Fine, you got lucky this time, but this isn't over. You just wait. As she turned to leave, Leo's voice, cold and sharp, followed her. Of course it's not over. I'm suing you to get my money back. Aunt Brenda, what goes around comes around. See you in court. Brenda nearly choked on her rage, but she still managed a final retort. The word karma isn't in my dictionary. I hope you don't come begging me for mercy then. Leo said no more, watching as she stormed off. The more arrogant she was now, the deeper her regret would be later. After confirming a few more details with Leo, the police left. All these years, it's been really hard for you, hasn't it? Isabelle looked at him, her eyes a mixture of sympathy and concern. Leo shrugged, then turned to her with a grin. Doesn't matter. The important thing is that today, we finally ripped off the Band-Aid. The next time I see her, it'll be to crush her. Now come on, let's go play Fireboy and Water Girl. His mood was better than ever. Holy crap, this game has a 3-0. Leo sat next to Isabelle, watching in disbelief as she launched Fireboy and Water Girl 3-0 on her computer. A corner of Isabelle's mouth lifted in a self-satisfied smirk. There's also a 4-0, a level select version, and an invincible mode. Impressive. Having mastered the first two versions, Leo was now a seasoned pro. He and Isabelle worked together seamlessly, their coordination so perfect they rarely got stuck on a level for more than a minute. Halfway through their game, Leo pulled a prepared envelope from his pocket. Isabelle, here's the $1,000 I owe you. Isabelle looked up, a rare expression of genuine surprise on her face. You work those part-time jobs just to pay me back. Leo, you big idiot. I never actually expected you to pay me back. Leo ignored her inner voice and nodded. Yeah, I only made $400 over the 2 days. The rest was from my savings. Oh, Isabelle's expression returned to neutral, and she turned her attention back to the game. Watching her, Leo thought for a moment before saying, Hey, Isabelle, thanks. For what? If I hadn't insisted on calling the police, you probably would have offered to get my uncle a job, just like you offered my aunt money last time. Thanks for wanting to help me out of a tough spot. But they don't deserve it. It's really not a big deal, she said nonchalantly. It's just a job, one phone call, and I could have gotten him a position at Thorn Industries. It's my family's company after all. Leo froze for a solid 2 seconds. What? Your family's? You mean Thorn Industries? Wait, is your dad? Arthur Thornton. Isabelle gave him a puzzled look. How do you know my father's name? Holy crap. No wonder she said she could arrange a job with a single phone call. The company belonged to her family. Even more shocking, her father was the chairman of Thornton Industries. Suddenly, the whole living in a mansion thing made a lot more sense. Thornton Industries had factories and shopping malls in at least 20 cities across the country. This was a whole other level. He couldn't even joke about it. All right, you win. You're ridiculously rich. But you need to stop being so stubborn. You'd rather sit on the stairs in the hallway waiting for me than just send a text. Isabelle turned her head, her face a mask of seriousness. I was not sitting on a little bench in the hallway. But Lester told me yesterday. I was sitting on the stairs, pitifully waiting for you. Wah, I'm so pathetic, I didn't even have a bench. Oomph. Now that he knows how sad I was, he'll definitely tell me his plans ahead of time from now on. Isabelle, you're a genius. Hearing her inner monologue, Leo almost choked. She's scamming me. She's putting on another act. How did she manage to lie with such a straight face? Leo, slow down, don't go so fast. There's water there. All right there. I'm going for it. Phew. Leo let out a long breath, the flush on his face slowly receding. Isabelle's expression was one of barely concealed excitement. The final level required a perfectly timed dash from the fireboy, or he'd fall into a water pit and die. After 5 failed attempts, he'd finally made it. Because Fireboy and Watergirl 3.0 had more levels than the previous versions, it took them the entire day to beat the game. They were so engrossed, they even ordered takeout for lunch. Leo glanced at the clock on the wall. May 3rd, 5:45 p.m. Isabelle, it's time. We have to get to school for evening study hall. Okay. Her eyes lowered, and a tiny smile played on her lips. We're getting new seats today. Little Leo is first in the class, so he gets to pick his seat first. I'm second, and no matter what, I can be his desk mate. Ah, right. A thought crossed Leo's mind. He'd scored 691, and she'd gotten 689. Was it possible she'd done that on purpose? Ahem. So, where are you thinking of sitting? Isabelle pursed her lips. Anywhere is fine. As long as it's with you. It doesn't matter where we sit. Hearing her say anywhere is fine, Leo just nodded silently. Hey, Isabelle, can I use your bathroom? Sure. Leo got up and headed for the bathroom. After closing the door, he took care of business. As he was washing his hands, his gaze fell on the laundry hamper next to the washing machine. His eyes widened. Holy crap. Is that gray? Strapless? No, maybe it's not gray. Not sure. Need a closer look. A second later, Leo snapped his gaze away, his face burning. Even after all the movies he and Miles had critically reviewed together, this was the first time he'd seen one in real life. Is that a C or a D cup? He opened the door to find Isabelle had just shut down the computer. Isabelle, I'm gonna head back. I'll just go to school on my own. Bye. Wait, before she could finish, Leo was out the door and gone. She stood there, confused. What was that about? Why was his face so red? Still puzzled, Isabelle walked into the bathroom. A moment later, her own face flushed a brilliant shade of scarlet. In the hamper was the bra she'd changed out of after her shower yesterday. Realizing the reason for Leo's strange behavior, she let out a small gasp. Ugh! The blush spread from her cheeks to her ears and down her neck. Mortifying. This is absolutely, completely, utterly mortifying. At 6:30, Leo arrived in the classroom. Most of the students were buzzing with excitement, eagerly awaiting the start of study hall when Mr. Wagner would rearrange the seating chart. Leo, it's all set, Kevin said excitedly. I already talked to everyone. Nobody's going to take the seat next to you. Haha, really? That's great, Leo said with a dry laugh. He knew Kevin had conveniently forgotten to ask one person, Isabelle Thornton. In reality, Kevin was the only dedicated student-athlete in their class. There weren't even any other arts majors. So, besides Brian White, who was already set on going to a community college, Kevin's academic score on the mock final was dead last. The moment Isabelle chose the seat next to Leo, Kevin was destined to become the class's new social outcast. Ring. The bell for study hall rang, and everyone scrambled to their seats. Soon, their homeroom teacher, Mr. Wagner, walked in holding a list. He pushed up his glasses and smiled. Our class average on this exam was a full 16 points higher than the first mock final. I can see you've all been working incredibly hard. Many students who were ranked lower before made huge progress, and I couldn't be prouder. Since you've all put in the effort, I'm going to keep my promise. The top 20 students in the class, as well as anyone who improved their score by 30 points, can choose their own seats. Now, everyone please step outside, and I'll call you in one by one according to your rank. The students of senior class 5 chattered excitedly in the hallway, their faces alight with anticipation. Mr. Wagner stood at the front of the empty classroom, glanced at the results sheet, and called out, "Leo Yeager, you're first in the class again. Come on in and pick your seat." Leo nodded and walked into the classroom. As he passed Kevin, his friend whispered, "Leo, stick with our protagonist seat." "You got it." Inside, Leo walked straight to his old desk in the second-to-last row, by the window, and sat down. No one in the hallway was surprised. Kevin had already made the rounds and informed everyone of Leo's intentions. "Mr." Wagner looked at Leo, then called out the next name, Isabelle Thornton. Although Isabelle was the center of attention in their class, ever since she transferred, she had sat quietly in the second row. Her desk mate was a girl named Tina Liu, a C student who was quiet and kept to herself. To the students of Class 5, Isabelle and Tina were a perfect, if odd, match. One was icily aloof, the other shy and reserved. So, when Isabelle walked into the classroom, everyone, including Mr. Wagner, assumed she would do as Leo had and choose her original seat. Isabelle paused at the doorway, then began to walk. But she didn't stop at her old desk. She kept going, and a ripple of shock went through the crowd. Whoa, Isabelle's not taking her old seat. Maybe she's just tired of sitting in one spot. Want a change of scenery. It's normal. Yeah, but if she moves, who's going to have the guts to sit next to her? Tina didn't qualify to choose her own seat, right? Easy. No one will pick the spot next to Isabelle, so Tina will just end up there by default. Maybe some brave soul will take a shot. It's the last month of school. If I weren't such a coward, I bet half the guys in our class would try. As the students whispered among themselves, Isabelle passed the first 4 rows. Then, under the watchful eyes of the entire class, she calmly sat down in the empty seat next to Leo. The chatter in the hallway died instantly. The air grew thick with a collective, stunned silence. The faint buzzing of cicadas in the willow tree outside the window suddenly seemed deafeningly loud. No way. What is happening? Why did Isabelle just sit next to Leo? Dude, this is huge. A few people said they saw them eating together in the cafeteria a few days ago, but I thought they were lying. Isabelle and Leo? They've always seemed like they live in different universes. And now they're desk mates. Wow, my dreams are crushed. I was hoping she'd move so I could swoop in and take her old seat. Then I could brag in college that I was desk mates with the school goddess. Seeing Isabelle firmly planted next to Leo, the students in the hallway erupted into a frenzy of speculation. Only Kevin stood frozen in place, a single thought echoing in his mind. It's over. It's all over. He really had asked everyone. He was absolutely sure no one would challenge him for the seat next to Leo. The only reason he'd skipped Isabelle was because he never, in his wildest dreams, thought she would want to be Leo's desk mate. What about her carefully crafted Ice Queen persona? Now he knew what was worth. It was worth him being naive. It was worth him being unlucky. It was worth him miscalculating the one variable he'd thought was a constant. At the front of the room, Mr. Wagner was just as stunned. Strange, he thought. Very strange. Those two have never shown any signs of interaction. But he didn't dwell on it. They were both top students. Whatever the reason, them sitting together could only be a good thing. Composing himself, he called out to the hallway, "Evan Fan, you're third. Your turn to choose." 10 minutes later, everyone was settled in their new seats, looking pleased. 90% had gotten the spot they wanted. Another 9% were reasonably satisfied with a decent desk mate. And then there was the last 1%, the newly minted social pariah, Kevin. He was slumped over his desk, staring at the new pair of desk mates with eyes full of despair. His grades had sealed his fate. He was powerless. He felt like an old man lamenting his squandered youth, a bitter taste in his mouth. "Damn you, Isabelle Thornton," he muttered, gritting his teeth. "Being his neighbor wasn't enough for you? You had to take his deskmate spot too? This is just cold. I'm really Leo's deskmate. I'm so excited, so excited. Now I can sneak glances at him up close during class. Yes. Ever since she'd sat down, Isabelle's inner monologue had been running at full blast. Leo sat beside her, trying his best not to laugh. He didn't find her constant stream of consciousness annoying at all. The stark contrast between her cool exterior and her hyperactive thoughts was just funny and kind of cute. In truth, Leo was surprised too. He had known from her inner voice that this was a possibility, but he'd assumed that, with her reputation as the unapproachable Ice Queen, she would have manufactured some perfect excuse or waited for a more opportune moment. Instead, she'd just done it. No explanation, no pretext. She just sat down. Well, I guess for someone with a cold personality, doing things without explaining them to others fits the persona even better. She's a pro, he thought, shaking his head. Once the class settled down and Mr. Wagner began going over the mock final exam, Leo waited for the attention to shift away from them before nudging Isabelle. He was curious to see what her official explanation would be. "Hey, Isabelle, what made you decide to be my desk mate?" She answered with perfect composure. "I like this spot. You just happened to choose the one next to it." "Then why didn't you choose it before?" "Because I hadn't gotten into internet culture yet. When I was browsing online, everyone said the second-to-last row by the window is the king's homeland. I wanted to see what it was like." Leo was flabbergasted. Damn it, that offhand comment I made about surfing the web has now become her all-purpose excuse for any behavior that breaks her character. Before he could respond, Isabelle lowered her gaze slightly and added, with an air of unassailable logic, "Besides, we're neighbors. Being desk mates is perfectly reasonable, isn't it?" Reasonable? Oh, it's reasonable, all right. Her logic was flawless. The neighbor card was her trump card. She wielded it with the precision of a master duelist. Leo was starting to suspect that from the moment she moved in next door, she had been plotting exactly how to exploit the neighbor's status to its absolute fullest. "As long as it's reasonable," Isabelle said with a slight lift of her chin, then turned her attention to the blackboard, a flash of quiet triumph on her face. High school wasn't really like the movies. There weren't many dramatic, last-minute comebacks with a class clown suddenly crams for a month and aces their finals. It was more about the small things like a boy and a girl talking a little too closely and having it turn into a school-wide rumor by the end of lunch. And so, Isabelle Thornton actively choosing to be Leo Yeager's deskmate was the hot gossip that spread through the entire senior class during the 10-minute break in study hall. Did you hear? In Class 5's new seating chart, Isabelle Thornton chose to sit next to a guy. For real? Who is he? He's a top student too. Leo Yeager, always in the top 5. He got second place in the grade on this last exam. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. What kind of story is this? Two super smart, good-looking people are desk mates. Dude, what if they're secretly dating? They're gonna conquer college together. No way. Isabelle isn't just smart and pretty. She's loaded. To date her, you'd have to be more than just smart. You'd have to be from her world. Hearing his classmates buzz about it, Julian Croft felt his body tremble with rage. Julian was the president of Senior Class 4 and Northwood High's perennial first-place student. From the first day Isabelle had transferred, he had been captivated by her looks and her aura. When he found out she was also brilliant, he fell for her completely. From that moment on, Julian felt his studies finally had a purpose. He believed that a girl as exceptional as Isabelle could only be understood by someone like him. Her cold indifference to every other boy only reinforced his conviction that they shared a special connection, a meeting of minds that no one else could comprehend. So, when he heard the rumors about Isabelle and Leo, his carefully constructed worldview shattered. These idiots, he fumed silently. Isabelle just sat next to him. Why are they spreading rumors that they're dating? Leo couldn't even break the top 3 before. He gets lucky on 2 exams, and suddenly he has Isabelle's attention? The only reason she's sitting with him is for academic convenience. If I were in Class 5, Leo wouldn't even be in the picture. A hateful expression twisted Julian's face. The bell rang, but his classmates kept talking. Julian's anger boiled over. He strode to the front of the room and, using his authority as class president, roared, "Are you all deaf?" The bell rang. "Stop gossiping and open a book. Have you all memorized every biological process? Every English vocabulary word? You should be ashamed of your low scores dragging down our class average. I get first place every time, and I'm not as arrogant as you all." The class fell silent, but a few students who couldn't stand Julian muttered under their breath, "What a tool. It's just grade-level first place. You'd think he was first in the state. Come on. Everyone knows he has a huge crush on Isabelle. He's just mad that everyone's talking about her and Leo. It's pathetic." Julian heard the whispers from the front of the room, and his face turned beet red. He channeled all his fury toward one person. "Leo Yeager, you just wait." On the first day of school after the Memorial Day weekend, the atmosphere on campus had completely changed. With graduation just a month away, the countdown had begun. The tension was palpable. The gossip from the night before was already old news. Leo parked his bike in the rack and was about to head to class when a sharp pain shot through his heel. Hiss! He sucked in a breath, hissing through his teeth. He turned to see a boy with a bicycle standing right behind him. The kid had run into him. "Sorry about that. I was distracted. Wasn't looking where I was going," Julian Croft said. But his deadpan expression held zero apology. "Not looking where you were going?" Leo narrowed his eyes. It was early, and the bike rack was nearly empty. There was plenty of space. Furthermore, Leo was parked up on the curb. There was no way Julian should have hit him. Combined with his indifferent attitude, it was obvious. This was intentional. Julian, you did that on purpose, didn't you? Leo said, his voice flat. Of course not. Why would I, the top student in our grade, intentionally run into you, old number 2? Question mark. Leo's eye twitched. The rumors were true. Julian Croft, the academic prodigy, was a genuine weirdo. He bent down and rubbed his heel, confirming it was just bruised and not broken, then shot Julian a final look and started to walk away. Now, it was Julian's turn to be confused. Dude, I just provoked you. You're not even going to get angry? How am I supposed to execute my plan now? Julian had been certain that any normal guy, especially a teenager full of hormones, would have exploded after such a blatant act of aggression. He had planned to provoke Leo into throwing a punch, which would get him suspended. Then Isabelle would see Leo for what he truly was, a violent brute, no matter how smart he was. In Julian's mind, his plan was flawless, a product of his superior intellect and emotional maturity. Seeing Leo just walk away, Julian panicked. Hey, Jaeger, why are you ignoring me? I think you're right, Leo called back over his shoulder. You didn't do it on purpose. Julian was dumbfounded. What the hell? Leo's smart enough to get second place in the grade. Anyone who isn't a complete moron could see I did that on purpose. Does he really believe me, damn? This guy has too much faith in my rank. What an idiot. Julian cursed silently. He decided to be direct. Hey, you know what? I did do it on purpose. He stood his ground, bracing for the storm. But Leo just gave a nonchalant wave. Yeah, I know, he said, not even turning around. A dog barked at me. I'm not going to bark back. Now go on, get. A dog. Julian Croft froze. When the insult finally registered, he exploded. Leo, who are you calling a dog? Whoever's barking at me, Leo said with a shrug, turning to leave. Seeing his plan to provoke Leo falling apart, Julian got desperate. He stepped directly in front of Leo, a smug, punchable look on his face. I already told you, Jaeger. I bumped into you on purpose. As a man, aren't you even a little pissed off? Yeah, I am. Then why don't you hit me? Seeing the eager glint in Julian's eyes, Leo let out a short laugh. A smirk played on his lips. Were you some kind of masochist? Begging for a beatdown? You're a psycho. With that, Leo ignored him, stepping around him and heading toward the school building. Hey, don't you walk away from me, Jaeger. Get back here. You're still number 2, Leo. Always number 2. You hear me? No matter how much Julian yelled, Leo didn't look back. The lack of reaction made Julian stomp his foot in frustration, the way you feel when you throw a punch and hit nothing but air. He had thrown his best taunts at Leo, and the guy didn't even seem fazed. Once he was out of sight, Leo's smirk returned. Back at the bike racks, he noticed Julian constantly glancing toward the corner where a security camera was mounted. It was painfully obvious. Julian was trying to bait him into throwing a punch and getting it all on video. If it weren't for that camera, Leo would have gladly given Julian a taste of his fist. The look on his face had been begging for it. TCH, forget it, he thought. A punch like that would cost me big time. Besides, watching him lose his mind is satisfying enough. But it's weird, he mused as he walked up the stairs to his classroom. I don't have any beef with Julian Croft. Why would the number 1 student pull a lame stunt like this to screw me over? He walked into the classroom and immediately spotted Kevin Shion's bulky frame crammed into the desk right below the teacher's podium. Leo paused. Kevin, what are you doing sitting there? Where else am I supposed to sit? My home was stolen by that devious mastermind, Isabelle Thornton, Kevin said, turning around with a look of pure misery. Leo grinned. All right, I almost forgot. You're the new left-hand man now. Dude, seriously? Do you have to kick a man when he's down? First thing in the morning? Kevin grumbled, then lowered his voice. Leo, for real, what's the deal with you and Isabelle? How did she end up willingly choosing to be your desk mate? We're just friends. Nothing going on. Kevin wasn't buying it. He raised a thick eyebrow. Yeah, just friends. The kind of just friends who named their first kid after you. Wow. Real original. Leo deadpanned, sliding into his own seat. He noticed Isabelle's was empty. Huh. Didn't see her when I left this morning. Is she out today? He wondered. He was about to discreetly text her, but the grade-level dean was patrolling the hallways during the morning reading period. He decided to wait. About halfway through the period, however, Isabelle slipped in, backpack slung over her shoulder. She sat down next to Leo, and a light, pleasant floral scent drifted over to him. Hey, what's up? Leo asked quietly. Running late today? Oversleep? Isabelle's expression was a little strained. She unconsciously touched her stomach and mumbled, yeah, woke up late. Ugh, stupid period, she thought miserably. The cramps were so bad this morning, I could barely get out of bed. I swear, I want to punch my own uterus and show it who's boss. Hearing her thoughts, Leo understood immediately. He nonchalantly picked up his water bottle and went to the dispenser at the front of the room. A moment later, he returned and placed the bottle, now filled with steaming hot water, on her desk. Ahem. I was getting water for myself, but accidentally hit the hot tap. Waste not, want not. Figured you could use it to warm you up, he said. Worried she might get the wrong idea. He quickly added, I'll drink it later when it cools down. Surprise flickered in Isabelle's dark eyes, and a faint blush colored her cheeks. How did you know? I saw you rubbing your stomach earlier. Isabelle was stunned. She hadn't realized he was that observant. She stared at him for a long moment, her eyes shimmering. He totally got this for me on purpose. Why won't he just admit it? T.She. We're just good neighbors. Getting hot water is perfectly reasonable. Ring. The bell, signaling the end of second period, was followed by the announcement for the mid-morning break assembly. As students started filing out, Leo noticed Isabelle slumped over her desk, her face pale. She was kneading her stomach with one hand. Leo's brow furrowed. The cramps were clearly getting worse. Just then, Isabelle turned her head slightly towards him. Her usual icy tone was gone, replaced by a weak whisper. Leo, can you ask Mr. Wagner to excuse me? I'm not going to the assembly. I don't feel well. Of course. Make sure you drink plenty of hot water, he said, before turning and leaving. Isabelle bit her lip, watching him go. She knew it was a normal reaction, but a flicker of disappointment still crossed her eyes. In reality, Leo didn't go to the assembly. He went straight to Mr. Wagner's office to excuse both himself and Isabelle, then sprinted to the small school store. He was on a mission for feminine hygiene products and heating patches. I saw a video online that said putting a heating patch on your lower back can really help with cramps. With his purchases in hand, Leo hurried back towards the classroom. As he rounded the corner on the fourth floor, he slammed squarely into a girl who was rushing in the opposite direction. Ow, that hurt! Khloe yelped, having been knocked to the ground. She scrambled up, ready to chew someone out. Hey, watch where you are, Leo. Her eyes widened in surprise when she saw who it was. Then, her gaze fell to the heating patches and pads in his hand, and her expression lit up. A moment earlier, she had been rushing to the bathroom and had asked her friend Sophie to run to the store for her. Seeing Leo now, she instantly concluded that Sophie must have run into him and asked him to deliver the items. Despite their last two unpleasant encounters, the sight of Leo holding those items, willing to brave the weird looks he might get from other students, suddenly made all his past behavior seem less offensive. Because he's willing to bring me pads. Khloe clutched her stomach, a happy smile spreading across her face. Sophie sent you, right? Okay, just give them to me. And hey, since you were nice enough to get these for me, I forgive you for everything that happened before. Forgive me? Who gave you permission to forgive me? Leo raised an eyebrow and glanced down at the package in his hand. What a coincidence. Khloe's on her period, too. Well, what are you waiting for? Give them to me. Khloe pouted when Leo just stood there silently. Leo fought back a laugh. He honestly couldn't figure her out. He had been nothing but harsh to her their last 2 times talking. Yet somehow, she always managed to twist things around in her head with some bizarre logic, convincing herself he was into her. He cleaned out his ear with his pinky. You're rambling. Who told you these were for you? The smile on Khloe's face froze. Her eyes went blank. Leo, what? What do you mean? Didn't Sophie ask you to buy these for me? Obviously not. Why the hell would I buy this stuff for you? You're already dreaming, and it's not even noon. So cringe. Khloe stared at him, incredulous, as if she'd misheard. Leo, did you just curse at me? If that wasn't enough, I could say a lot more, Leo replied calmly, the disdain in his eyes completely undisguised. Khloe was about to retort when she felt a sudden, warm rush in her lower abdomen. Her face paled. Oh no, it's happening. She bit her lip, her face flushing. Are you crazy, Leo? Now is not the time for jokes. I'm in a hurry. Give me the pads. Leo saw her predicament and chuckled. I know you're bugging out, but you need to chill. He paused, delivering the final line with a deadpan expression. And even if you can't chill, it's not my problem. I know why you're bugging, but it's got nothing to do with me. With that, he walked around her and headed straight for the classroom. Khloe reached out to grab him, but the feeling in her stomach kept her from making any sudden moves. All she could do was watch helplessly as Leo walked away with the pads and disappeared into the classroom. Tears welled in her eyes. She couldn't understand it. The Leo who used to follow her around like a puppy was gone. Ever since she'd gotten back from her out-of-state dance auditions, he'd become this cold, different person. Is it because of Isabelle Thornton? Suddenly, she remembered the rumors from last night's study hall, that Isabelle had actually asked to be Leo's desk mate. She bit her lower lip, fuming. You're such a player, Leo Yeager. After having a crush on me for years, you just dropped me for. Ugh, I can't deal with this right now. Her chest heaved, and the warm sensation intensified, a look of panic flashing in her eyes. Forgetting everything else, she bolted for the girls' bathroom. Back in the classroom, Leo found Isabelle still slumped over her desk, her face etched with pain. A thin sheen of sweat had formed on her forehead. She looked up at the sound of footsteps, surprised to see him. Why didn't you go to the assembly? Did you get me excused? Didn't have time to go. Then where were you? Instead of answering, Leo placed the pads on her desk, then pulled the heating patches from his pocket. "Want to get these for you," he said softly. "The store only had the regular kind, so you'll have to make do. You can stick the patches on your lower back and stomach. It should help with the pain." He paused, then added as an afterthought, "Oh, right. Stick them on over your clothes, not directly on your skin, or you could get a low temp burn." Huh. Isabelle's face was a mask of surprise. She looked down at the items on her desk, and a wave of warmth washed over her that had nothing to do with heating patches. These are all for me," she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Who else? It's not like they're my leftovers. I don't exactly get a man period, Leo joked. Isabelle's cheeks flushed. She pursed her lips and said in a small voice, "Thank you, Leo. Don't mention it. Where's your water bottle? I'll get you some more hot water." "It's fine. I can get it myself." She started to refuse, but Leo had already spotted her water bottle on the windowsill. Without another word, he grabbed it and went to the dispenser. When he returned and placed the refilled bottle on her desk, he mimicked her earlier tone, squinting his eyes with a slight smile. "Neighbor, getting water. Reasonable." "Yeah." Isabelle was taken aback for a second, then lowered her head, her face turning an even deeper shade of red. "Oh my God, Leo bought me pads. Man, why do you have to be so sweet? You're successfully making me like you even more. I like you." Leo's eyes widened. He'd been able to hear her thoughts for half a month, but this was the first time he'd actually, truly heard her admit she liked him. Noticing his strange expression, Isabelle asked, "What's wrong?" Nothing, Leo said, waving his hands dismissively. To cover his awkwardness, he grabbed his own water bottle and took a swig. Only after he swallowed did he remember. This was the water Isabelle had just been using to warm her stomach. Even though the water hadn't touched her directly, Leo couldn't help but feel that it tasted sweeter than usual. Third period was chemistry. 5 minutes after the bell rang, the teacher still hadn't shown up. Just as the class representative was about to go look for him, Mr. Wagner appeared at the door. "Your chemistry teacher had a family emergency and had to leave, so this period is now a study hall. Leo, Isabelle, come with me to my office." Leo and Isabelle exchanged a look, both equally confused. They got up and followed their homeroom teacher out into the hall. They weren't far down the corridor when they heard a chorus of wolf whistles and cat calls from the classroom behind them. Isabelle heard it too, and a barely perceptible blush crept onto her cool features. She lowered her head slightly and quickened her pace, trying to hide her reaction. "At the office door, Mr. Wagner told them. "The grade-level dean is waiting for you. I've got something else to attend to." Leo and Isabelle nodded and pushed open the office door. They saw the dean, Mr. Benson, sitting in a chair, trying to reason with a student. "Julian, you're our top-ranked student. Your grasp of physics is far beyond your peers. This competition will only cost you an afternoon of class at most. The school will arrange for any teacher to give you one-on-one tutoring to catch up." "Dean Benson, I'll say it again. Even if I win first place, this competition doesn't really help me. I personally don't need something like this to pad my resume." Mr. Benson let out a heavy sigh. It was then that he spotted Leo and Isabelle, and his eyes lit up. "Ah, Leo, Isabelle, you're here. Come in. He turned back to Julian. "All right, Julian, if you're really not going to participate, I won't force you. I'll give the spots to Leo and Isabelle." "What? Isabelle Thornton? She's participating?" Julian exclaimed in shock. He quickly pushed his glasses up his nose, his earlier bored expression completely gone. He sat up straight and said with newfound conviction, "Dean Benson, on second thought, I feel that as a student of Northwood High, and as the top-ranked junior, it is my undeniable duty to participate in this physics competition." Mr. Benson was 53 years old. His greatest wish in life was to see an authentic Sichuan opera face-changing performance. He never expected that on this perfectly ordinary day, he would witness a flawless, high-speed version of it right here in his office, courtesy of Julian Croft. 1 second, Julian was staunchly refusing. The next, he was declaring his undeniable duty. It was fast. Incredibly fast. Mr. Benson wiped a bead of sweat from his forehead. Julian, are you sure you want to participate? One minute you're saying no, the next you're in. You're making it very hard for me to get a read on you. Don't worry, Dean. I, Julian Croft, am a man of my word. Julian pushed his glasses up his nose again, picked up a pen, and swiftly filled out the physics competition registration form. As Mr. Benson took the completed form, a look of relief finally crossed his face. He turned to Leo and Isabelle. Leo, Isabelle, it's just as you heard. The state is hosting a two-person physics competition, and our school has been given one team slot. The problems are quite challenging, so after discussing it, the administration decided to give one of the spots to Julian. After all, he's been number one in our grade all year. He paused, rubbing his nose with a wry smile. We were going to choose the second person based on the physics scores from mock finals. But as you saw, Julian felt it would interfere with his study plans and was reluctant to join. So, I thought I'd have the two of you go together. But now, Julian has filled out the form, so there's only one spot left. Leo, your mock physics score was a 92, second in the grade. Isabelle, you scored a 91, which is third. So how about Leo goes? Julian's jaw dropped. He had been so focused on Isabelle that he had completely ignored Leo standing next to her. Now, hearing the dean's words, he finally registered that Leo was there too. Wait a minute. I thought they said Isabelle was going to be my partner. How'd it turn into me and Leo? Dean, Leo can't be the one. His outburst immediately drew a puzzled look from Mr. Benson. Realizing he'd overreacted, Julian cleared his throat. Ahem, Dean, here's my thinking. Since it's a two-person competition, it would be best to have a male-female pairing. That way, when we encounter difficult problems, we can analyze them from different gender-based perspectives. It would be advantageous for problem-solving. He paused, then continued. Of course, the most important thing is that Ms. Thornton's physics grades are more consistent. Looking at past exams, her scores have been higher than Leo's. Therefore, I'm more inclined to have Ms. Thornton as my partner. It would increase our chances of winning. Leo's average performance just doesn't measure up to hers. Listening to Julian's self-important speech, Leo narrowed his eyes. He suddenly understood why Julian had tried to provoke him at the bike racks that morning. Well. Looks like this guy has a crush on Isabelle. He remembered Kevin telling him that Julian, the grade's number one, had a thing for Isabelle. At the time, Leo had dismissed it, figuring a bookworm like Julian wouldn't be interested in girls during high school. But now, he must have heard that Isabelle is my deskmate now, Leo thought. He got jealous and decided to pick a fight. Considering Julian's reaction when he saw Isabelle, Leo was sure his theory was spot on. After finishing his explanation, Julian smiled at Isabelle. Ms. Thornton, I'm confident that if we participate in this competition together, we will definitely win. Isabelle, however, just gave him a cold, indifferent glance and said nothing. Julian didn't seem to mind. In fact, he looked even more excited. Yes, that's the cold attitude I love. Meanwhile, Mr. Benson was stroking his chin, seriously considering Julian's argument. He finally nodded slowly. That does make some sense. In that case, Isabelle, what do you think? Oh, by the way, since this is a state-level competition, anyone who wins will receive a professional certificate. These kinds of certificates can be very valuable when you go to college. If you're studying a related field, it can make professors more likely to choose you for their research. It carries a lot of weight. Hearing this, Leo realized this competition was a big deal. If the certificate wasn't valuable, the school wouldn't be sending its top students. The administration had high hopes for their final exam scores and would want them spending every possible moment studying, not getting distracted by a competition. Just then, Julian shot Leo a smug look, his eyebrows raised in triumph. So what if Isabelle is your deskmate? So what if you ignored me this morning? Now Isabelle is going to be my partner in the physics competition. We'll win together and build our future. Leo just gave him a flat, emotionless look in return. Number one in the grade? So childish. All right, Dean, it's settled. Ms. Thornton and I will participate in the competition. You can rest assured Julian was cut off mid-sentence by Isabelle's sharp voice. Who gave you the right to decide for me? Her brow furrowed, her icy tone laced with annoyance. She looked at Mr. Benson and said flatly, Sir, I don't want to participate in this competition. What is with this guy? She thought. And why was he giving Leo that look? Who wants to be on a team with you? If I was going to team up with anyone, it would be Leo. Leo was surprised. He hadn't realized Isabelle had seen Julian's smug expression. A cold sweat trickled down Mr. Benson's forehead. He hadn't expected Isabelle's refusal to be so firm and direct. And unlike with Julian, he didn't dare try to persuade her. He was just a grade-level dean. He couldn't afford to offend the Thornton family. Once Isabelle Thornton said no to something, Not even the principal would dare ask a second time. Hearing her refusal, Julian felt his heart shatter. This isn't right. This is all wrong. How could Isabelle not want to participate with me? He looked at her completely baffled and pushed his glasses up his nose in a fluster. But why? Ms. Thornton, why wouldn't you want to team up with me for the competition? We're the same type of person. We should have a connection on an academic level. This competition would help us get to know each other better. Leo, oh, Isabelle, Mr. Benson. Julian's words plunged the room into a stunned silence. The statement was so bizarre, it was almost avant-garde. Every word was English, but strung together, they made absolutely no sense. When Leo finally processed it, a wave of secondhand embarrassment washed over him. Damn, that was a 0-2 cringe speedrun. Isabelle just stared at Julian with a strange look on her face. After a long pause, she asked, genuinely confused, "Do I know you? You don't know me?" Julian was dumbfounded. How is that possible? How could she not know me? In all of Northwood High, we're the only two who are on the same wavelength. We have a connection. He refused to give up, forcing a smile. I'm Julian Croft, the #1 student in our grade. How could you not know me? The only reason you're sitting with Leo is because he got second place on the mock finals. If I were in your class, you'd definitely choose to sit with me, right? Sorry, I really don't know you. Is this guy psycho? Isabelle thought. He's so weird. I'm sitting with Leo because he's Leo. Why would I want to sit with you? Who do you think you are? She then added aloud, for good measure. And I wouldn't want to be your desk mate either. I really don't know you, and I wouldn't want to be your desk mate. The two short sentences made Julian's scalp tingle. He felt like he was about to die. Was our academic and spiritual connection all just in my head? Did she not even know my name? Leo struggled to keep a straight face. He suspected that when Julian wasn't studying, he spent his time living in a self-constructed fantasy world. It was one thing to have a crush, but to imagine a spiritual connection with someone you'd never even spoken to? This guy wasn't just a clown. He was the whole circus. Sensing the awkward tension, Mr. Benson quickly turned his attention to Leo. Well, Leo, in that case, maybe you and Julian can participate together. Sorry, Dean. I don't want to participate either, Leo said, looking away from Julian and rejecting the offer without a second thought. If it were with Isabelle, he would have been happy to do it. But with Julian? No way. This clown had creepy stalker written all over him. He wasn't about to get roped into anything with him. Mr. Benson was about to try and persuade him. He couldn't push Isabelle, but Leo was fair game. Now, Leo, this competition is very important to the school, and I hope you. Sir, Leo said he doesn't want to participate. Isabelle cut in, her tone firm. Mr. Benson froze. He looked at Isabelle, who was staring directly at him, and felt a little intimidated. Oh, well. All right, I understand. I'll ask some other students. Julian, who had been standing by, felt his heart break a second time when he heard Isabelle stand up for Leo. Not wanting to lose face completely, he declared to Mr. Benson, Dean, since they aren't participating, I'm not participating either. Nonsense. Are you trying to make a fool of me? Mr. Benson roared, slamming his hand on the desk. He glared at Julian. First you're out, then you're in, and now that you've filled out the form, you want to quit again? What do you take me for? What do you take the school's rules for? Julian jumped, startled by the outburst. This isn't right. The dean was so nice when Isabelle and Leo refused. Why is he blowing up at me? I understand, Dean, he stammered. Mr. Benson took a couple of deep breaths before turning back to Leo and Isabelle. All right, since neither of you wants to participate, you can go back to class. Okay, goodbye, Dean, Leo said, nodding. He and Isabelle left the office together. Once they were in the hallway, Leo turned to Isabelle. Thanks for your help back there. Isabelle looked at him, confused. Help with what? For helping me turn down the dean's offer. If you hadn't spoken up, he would have tried every trick in the book to get me to join. Oh, you're welcome. Of course I wasn't going to let you join, she thought. Teaming up with someone like that would make you dumber. I read online that stupidity is contagious. Hearing her thoughts, Leo pursed his lips. If being dumb is that contagious, then kissing must get you pregnant. Time flew by, a silent, relentless current. The juniors of Northwood High were buried in their studies, their desks piled high with textbooks and practice exams. Outside the classroom windows, the drone of cicadas grew louder each day as the countdown to graduation on the blackboard ticked down. The hot summer air on campus seemed thick with a mixture of anxiety and the sorrow of impending departure. Everyone agreed. The cicadas that summer were louder than any they could remember. The overgrown branches outside the windows couldn't block out the bright, insistent sunlight. Today, there were 10 days left until graduation. The last P.E. class for the juniors in Class 5 was changed to a study hall. The oppressive heat of 11 o'clock in the morning was too much for many, who slumped over their desks, fast asleep. Just before the bell, Mr. Wagner walked into the room. He tapped on the blackboard to wake the sleeping students, cleared his throat, and made an announcement. This afternoon, we'll be taking our senior class photos. So, after the lunch bell, I want everyone to take some time to clean up and look your best. We'll all wear our class shirts for the picture. He smiled. Ladies, for today only, you have permission to wear makeup to school. But please, don't overdo it. At your age, a natural, lovely look is the main theme. Besides, all the girls in this class are beautiful. You look your best, even without makeup. As for the boys, you guys are always fussing with your hair anyway. After lunch, on me, you're all going to the barber shop to get the sharpest haircuts of your lives. Show the girls in this class what you've got. A hint of wistfulness crept into Mr. Wagner's voice. He rubbed his nose and continued. This will be our last group photo together at this school. I hope you all bring your best selves to the picture to create the most beautiful memory of your time here. At his words, many students' eyes began to well up. 3 years of memories flashed before them. All the inside jokes, the triumphs, the struggles. Some began to whisper about the photos, while others quietly straightened the books on their desks. In that moment, even the cicadas seemed to soften their song, as if providing a gentle soundtrack for this precious moment. Leo had been through more painful goodbyes than this, so he wasn't as sentimental as most of his classmates. Youth, after all, was a relentless cycle of meetings and partings. He propped his chin on his hand and turned to his desk mate. Hey, Isabelle, he said with a smile. Are you going to put on makeup for the photo? Isabelle blinked. Her usual cool demeanor softened. She looked directly into his eyes and said softly, So, are you going to take me home so I can? Summer tasted like sweet orange popsicles and the scent of a boy's youth carried on the wind. Isabelle sat on the back of Leo's bike as they weaved through a series of quiet back alleys. This was the route Leo always took home. Fewer cars, fewer people, and much faster than the main roads. Everyone they passed in the narrow lanes couldn't help but turn and stare. The two of them were so strikingly good-looking. They looked like the leads in a teen drama. Seeing the beads of sweat forming on Leo's forehead, Isabelle asked in a low voice, Leo, am I too heavy? Not all. I guess you're around 110 pounds tops. You're pretty light. It's 118, she thought. I gained 2 pounds after going for that carcinogenic barbecue with Leo twice. Ugh, but it was so good. Her thoughts drifted into Leo's mind, and the corners of his mouth turned up. In reality, at 5'7", 118 pounds was nowhere near heavy. If anything, it was on the lighter side. But her proportions were ridiculously perfect. All the curves were in exactly the right places. Soon, they arrived at their apartment building. Lester, who had been following them in the Maybach, smoothly pulled over to the curb. He retrieved 2 chilled water bottles from the car's mini fridge and trotted over, a knowing grin on his face. Mr. Yeager, that was quite a ride. Leo took the water and quirked an eyebrow. Teasing, if I'd known you were at the school gate, I would have just had you drive us. Biking in this heat is brutal. Lester immediately shook his head, his face beaming. No, you must have been mistaken, Mr. Yeager. I just happened to cross paths with you and Miss Thornton. I definitely wasn't waiting at the school gate the whole time. Ah, Leo chuckled, glancing at Isabelle. She simply took the bottle, tilted her long, elegant neck back, and took a sip. Then she turned and walked towards the elevator, as if she had no idea what they were talking about. Leo downed his water in one go and was about to take the other elevator when Lester called out to him. What's up, Lester? Mr. Yeager, I'll have to trouble you to bike Miss Thornton back to school later. I have something I need to take care of. Aren't you her dedicated driver? What else could you have to do? Lester cleared his throat. Well, yes, I am, but sometimes urgent matters come up. I really appreciate your help, Mr. Yeager. All right, I get it, Leo said, not thinking much of it, and stepped into the elevator. Watching Leo's back disappear, Lester quickly moved the Maybach to a more hidden spot and let out a sigh of relief. The fond, fatherly smile returned to his face. Miss Thornton and Mr. Yeager are just too sweet. It's giving me a toothache. It's a shame I can't go on to school grounds. Otherwise, I'd definitely take some pictures of them together. Lester reclined his seat, ready to continue reading My Bad Boy Next Door on his phone. But as he unlocked the screen, he saw the last text message from his boss's daughter. Lester, Leo is taking me home. You are not to show yourself. This afternoon, you need to pretend you have something to do, so he has to bike me back to school. The outfits for the graduation photos had been purchased online by each class using their class funds. For Class 5, the boys wore white button-down shirts with striped ties and gray straight-leg trousers, giving them a fresh, youthful look. The girls wore matching white shirts with bow ties and gray pleated skirts that ended just at the knee, a perfect balance of student-like modesty and girlish charm. While Isabelle was doing her makeup, Leo changed into his outfit and redid his hair, styling it with gel and wax. In the middle of it, Kevin called, "Leo, Mr. Wagner is splurging on haircuts for all the guys in our class. Where are you? I just got mine done. I feel like I've transformed into Ryan Reynolds. You guys go ahead. I'm doing it myself at home. I don't trust the stylists at the shops by school. Leo, you fool. This is the one time we get to freeload off Mr. Wagner, and you're just letting it slip by? Fine, I gotta go. I'm gonna try to scam a free meal out of him, too. Hey. After hanging up, Leo finished styling his hair. TCH. Not bad for technique, I learned from TikTok video. He checked himself out in the mirror, satisfied with the result. He was about to knock on Isabelle's door to see if she was ready when his door opened at the exact same moment as hers across the hall. For a second, Leo just stared, completely stunned. Isabelle was already perfect, but with a touch of light makeup, her delicate features were even more pronounced. The white shirt fit her perfectly, but the top button seemed to be straining against her full chest, revealing a hint of her collarbones and an indescribable allure. Her long, straight legs were bare, glowing softly in the light, the hem of her skirt swaying gently. She pressed her cherry-pink lips together, as delicate as flower petals, and looked at Leo with an expectant gaze. Leo, do I look okay? You look amazing. Absolutely amazing. He'd only ever seen her in the school uniform or baggy clothes at home. He'd never realized her figure was so breathtaking. Hearing his praise, Isabelle broke into a beautiful smile. Thank you. She looked calm, but inside, her heart felt like it had been struck by lightning. Leo is so handsome. Those broad shoulders, that trim waist. I can't even imagine what's under that shirt. I wonder if he has abs. I really want to touch them. Her thoughts made Leo's face flush, and he suddenly felt a little awkward. Ahem, we should get going. We need to be back at school by 2:30. Okay. Leo pedaled, with Isabelle sitting behind him. Her usual cool expression was gone, replaced by a slight, happy curve of her lips and a sparkle in her eyes. Her long legs dangled playfully in the air. She held onto the seat with one hand and lightly gripped Leo's shirt with the other, tilting her head up to look at his back. Her eyes were filled with a gentle tenderness. The summer wind carried a soft, ambiguous warmth. It picked up the plum-flavored secrets of a girl's heart and gently blew through the boy's white shirt, turning the girl's cheeks a rosy red. On the athletic field, school staff were busy setting up the risers for the graduation photos. All 13 classes of the senior grade level were gathered on the field. Wow, Khloe, your makeup skills are insane. You look so pretty. Yes, seriously. Compared to you, my makeup looks like I did it with crayons. Khloe's naturally beautiful anyway. With makeup, I think she looks even better than those TikTok influencers. She's my goddess. Listening to the praise from the other students, Khloe felt herself floating. Though she was thrilled inside, she feigned modesty. Oh, stop. It's just because I'm a dancer. I have to wear makeup for auditions and performances all the time. I just have a tiny bit more experience than you guys. Class 5 was lined up right next to Khloe's class. She scanned their group, but didn't see Isabelle. She let out a small huff. For the past month, the news that Leo and Isabelle were desk mates had spread throughout the school. To make matters worse, rumors started circulating that they were also neighbors. This infuriated Khloe. She was convinced that it was because Leo had become Isabelle's neighbor that his attitude towards her had turned so cold. It was all that fox Isabelle's fault. Khloe, are you looking for Isabelle? Sophie sidled up to her, grinning. Don't worry. She probably doesn't even know how to wear makeup. You're definitely going to be the most beautiful girl in the whole school for the photos today. Khloe lifted her chin proudly. Oomph. I'd beat her even without makeup. Of course. Anyway, when Leo sees how gorgeous you look, he's going to totally regret being so cold to you. I seriously don't know what he's thinking, becoming Isabelle's little follower. Does he really think he's good enough for her? I don't think he's following her, Khloe said with a smug smile. He's probably just doing it to make me angry, to get me to change my attitude towards him. Guys are always pulling childish stunts like that to get the attention of the girl they like. After watching a bunch of videos analyzing male psychology on TikTok, Khloe suddenly felt like she understood everything. Her confidence came roaring back. She was certain that after the photos today, Leo would find an excuse to ask for a picture with her. So what if you lived next door to Leo, Isabelle? You're just a tool he's using to get my attention. Just then, a wave of gasps rippled through the crowd near the entrance to the field. Everyone turned to look, and the entire field erupted in a collective murmur. Isabelle Thornton, dressed in her class uniform, was walking from the entrance toward the Class 5 group. Is that Isabelle Thornton? Holy crap, it really is her. She's illegally beautiful. White shirt, pleated skirt, white sneakers. Is this what they mean by the girl of your dreams? I'm dead. She's too gorgeous. Dude, wake up. There's no dream girl. That's just your life flashing before your eyes. It's gotta be Isabelle. Compared to her, Khloe looks like an influencer next to a movie star. Most eyes on the field were now locked on Isabelle, as if under a spell. The spotlight that had been on Khloe moments before instantly faded. She stared blankly at Isabelle. Just as she had predicted, Isabelle wasn't wearing much makeup, just a very light touch. But even so, she was breathtakingly beautiful. A complex mix of emotions churned within Khloe: jealousy, disappointment, and an overwhelming sense of defeat. She had been so sure she would outshine Isabelle today, but now, standing before her, she felt like an ugly duckling. As Isabelle and Leo walked closer, Khloe could feel the attention of everyone around her shift away. She bit her lip, trying to maintain her composure, but the storm inside her was raging. Even Sophie was stunned. After a moment, she snapped out of it, and, fearing her best friend was about to have a meltdown, quickly tried to comfort her. "Khloe, I'm fine," Khloe said, the words practically ground out between her teeth. "Yo, Reynolds, what are you looking at?" a familiar voice said from beside him. Kevin turned to find Leo had silently appeared behind him. Kevin pursed his lips, his tone sour. "Just looking at your ethereal neighbor." "TSK. Leo, you're eating good, man. Don't be ridiculous. We're just good neighbors," Leo said with a straight face. Kevin didn't believe him for a second. "Stop lying, dude. I saw you two at the bike racks earlier. You went home with her for lunch, didn't you?" "Hee hee. You got me," Leo admitted, nonchalantly turning his head away. Kevin continued, "Since you came together, why didn't you walk onto the field with her, standing next to the great Isabelle Thornton, basking in the envious glares of all these guys? Sounds pretty awesome." "About that, I had to use the bathroom. Didn't want to make her wait," Leo mumbled, his expression a little unnatural. The truth was, on the last stretch of road before the school, traffic had picked up. Leo had to keep hitting the brakes, and every time he did, Isabelle, sitting behind him, would accidentally bump into his back. TSK. That soft feeling. Who the hell could handle that? So, the moment he parked the bike, he had told Isabelle to go on ahead while he hunched over and scurried to the bathroom to splash cold water on his face. Soon, the risers were ready. The photos would be taken class by class from 1 to 13. The classes that weren't up yet sat in the shady areas of the field to wait. Isabelle was sitting alone under a tree. Even though it was the shadiest, coolest spot around, the other students didn't dare sit too close. Her cool, stunning aura was just too intimidating. But as her neighbor and desk mate, Leo felt no such hesitation. He plopped down right next to her. Isabelle didn't seem to mind either, leaning back comfortably against the tree trunk. Her full chest and impressive curves strained against the fabric of her shirt, making it seem like every button was under immense pressure, ready to pop at any moment. Completely oblivious to Leo's repeated swallowing, she gazed up at the blue sky and suddenly said, "Leo." A sparrow just flew by. Leo, who had been staring, blurted out, "Uh-huh, big and white. Aren't sparrows brown?" Isabelle asked, turning to look at him, her eyes filled with confusion. Leo's breath hitched. He smoothly averted his gaze. "Really? Must have been a mutant." Question mark. Isabelle narrowed her eyes, then glanced down at herself. A second later, her nose wrinkled. "Pervy Leo. He was totally staring at my chest." Hearing Isabelle's inner thought, Leo's face flushed beet red. He immediately shot back. "Slander? That is pure slander. I swear, I was absolutely not looking at your chest." Question mark. Isabelle's expression became even more intrigued. She crossed her arms, a playful smile touching her lips. "I didn't say you were looking at my chest." Crap. Leo let out a horrified gasp and covered his face with his hands. He was so embarrassed he could have dug a hole to China with his toes right then and there. She was right. She hadn't said it. It had been her inner thought, which meant his outburst was a full confession. Seeing his mortified reaction, Isabelle's smile widened. "Leo, I just threw a basic punch, and you used your ultimate move." Yeah, whatever." Leo snapped his head away, not daring to sneak another peek at the big white sparrow. At that moment, a smile as warm as the spring sun blossomed on Isabelle's usually cool face. She leaned against the tree, just quietly watching him. The smile held a hint of teasing, but also an imperceptible warmth, like a melting glacier giving way to a gurgling spring. It was enough to make anyone's heart skip a beat. This entire exchange was witnessed by Kevin and Brian White, who were sitting nearby. Brian, the right-hand man, looked on with envy. "Man, Leo is so smooth," he said, his voice dripping with sour grapes. Being Isabelle's neighbor and deskmate is one thing, but now it looks like they're getting super close. Sigh, I can barely talk to a normal girl, let alone someone like her. Kevin frowned, correcting him. Good-looking people are called smooth. Ugly people are called creepy goblins. Fine, I'm going to be a nice guy in college. I'll be the emotional support for everyone. That way, I'll definitely be able to talk to girls. Kevin snorted. Don't be stupid. Good-looking people are called nice guys. Ugly people are called simps. Brian's expression soured. He swallowed hard and after a long silence, muttered, "All right, I guess I'll just stick to being a foodie. Good boy. But when ugly people do it, it's called being a gluttonous goblin." Dude, I may be ugly, but I'm at least 5'11". Height is a bonus for guys, right? Kevin turned to give Brian a thorough once-over and nodded seriously. You're right. At your height, you've graduated from the Goblin Tribe and joined the Troll Clan. A world of sadness, exclusively for Brian White, had just been created. Finally, it was Class 5's turn for their graduation photo. Boys had their buddies make last-minute adjustments to their ties, while girls checked their bangs in small, pocket-sized mirrors. Tall ones in the front, shorter ones on the risers. Yes, just like that. Teachers in the center C-suite seats. Everyone else, squeeze in tight, the photographer directed from the front, sweating under the hot sun. Despite the heat, everyone cooperated, shuffling into position. Since it was arranged by height, the front row was almost entirely made up of guys like Leo, who were around 6'1". The second row was mostly boys too, but Isabelle and a few other girls who were around 5'7" stood among them. T.S.K. Leo, if you were a little shorter, you could be in the second row next to Isabelle. This is the graduation photo, man. You two standing together would totally elevate the whole picture's vibe. Shut up, Leo said, rolling his eyes. He instinctively glanced back at Isabelle, who was standing diagonally behind him. Coincidentally, she was looking right at him. Ugh, why couldn't I be a little taller? She thought. I really want to stand next to Leo for the picture. This might be the only chance I get for a photo with him. An idea sparked in Leo's mind. He subtly touched the phone in his pocket, a thoughtful look in his eyes. A few minutes later, everyone was in place. The teachers sat in the center, their faces beaming with pride, while the students all wore smiles unique to the bloom of youth. The sunlight cascaded down, draping them in a golden glow. The photographer kept adjusting his angle, searching for the perfect shot. Okay, everyone hold those smiles. Don't move, his voice echoed across the field. When I count to 3, everyone say cheese together. Youth never ends, and the young are forever brilliant. Ready? 1, 2, 3, cheese. Click. With the press of a shutter, a flash of white light illuminated them. On that scorching summer day, the youth of Northwood High's Class 5 was frozen in time, captured alongside the blazing sun, forever brilliant and dazzling. In the photo, a girl's face was turned softly towards the bottom right, her eyes filled with a deep, watery affection. And interestingly, a boy's head was turned just so, looking toward his upper left. Their eyes met, a moment captured like a brilliant firework falling into the Milky Way. It was a one-of-a-kind summer special. After the class photo, everyone quickly cleared the risers for the next group. Immediately, students began pairing off with their close friends for individual pictures. Tina Lou, who had been Isabelle's deskmate for nearly a year, approached her with her phone in hand. She pursed her lips and asked timidly, Isabelle, can I get a picture with you? Seeing Isabelle's surprise, Tina blushed and quickly explained, we're graduating soon, and you've been my deskmate for a year. I wanted a picture to remember. Okay. Tina beamed, thrilled. She quickly held up her phone, and the two of them squeezed together for a photo. Leo saw this and was just as surprised. He never would have guessed that the quiet, shy Tina would be the only one brave enough to ask Isabelle for a picture. After the photo, Isabelle's eyes narrowed slightly. I want a picture with Leo too. I could use it as my phone wallpaper. But using the neighbor and deskmate excuse again would seem too obvious, right? She stood there for a moment, thinking. Then, as if she'd made a decision, she took out her phone and walked over to the class president, Jane Jiang. Jane, I'd like to take a picture with you. ? Jane was completely taken aback. Seriously? The cool, aloof heiress Isabelle Thornton, who barely says a word in class, is asking me for a picture? Seeing Jane's stunned silence, Isabelle bit her lip. Is that not okay? No, of course it's okay. I'm just. A little surprised, Jane said, shaking her head. She then excitedly took a photo with Isabelle. Afterward, Isabelle said a quiet, "Thank you," and then moved on to someone else. In an instant, all of Class 5 was in shock. What was going on? Was Isabelle Thornton actually asking them for photos? On graduation day, in order to hug one person, she hugged the entire class. Watching Isabelle go down the line taking pictures with every girl in their class, the popular internet quote immediately popped into Leo's head. The boys in the class, seeing that Isabelle had finished with the girls, all had eager looks on their faces. Even though they knew they didn't stand a chance. Who wouldn't want a photo with the most beautiful girl in school? Later, in college, they could whip it out to brag to their roommates. "See this? This was the queen of my high school. She had a huge crush on me. I reluctantly agreed to a photo." Yeah, stay humble. When you're out in the world, you create your own backstory. A single photo could be the foundation for a legendary tale, limited only by one's imagination. After taking pictures with all the girls, Isabelle clutched her phone, her gaze sweeping over the boys. A hint of reluctance appeared in her eyes. "Oh God, I really don't want to take pictures with them. It's so weird, but this is all for the photo with Leo, and I'm already halfway there. Come on, Isabelle, you can do this." "Okay, I'll start with Brian White. He's part of Team Leo Bell." Her thoughts streamed into Leo's ears. As she started walking toward Brian, who was still mourning his demotion to the Troll clan, his eyes lit up. "This is it. I have a chance. Me and Isabelle." But a second later, Leo appeared, blocking Isabelle's path. "Hey, Isabelle, let's go get a picture with Mr. Wagner. I mean, we're number 1 and 2 in the class. It would be rude for top students like us not to get a photo with our teacher, right?" Question mark. Isabelle paused, then her eyes brightened. "Deskmate, you're right." Brian could only watch in stunned silence as Leo intercepted Isabelle. "A chance?" "Yeah, right. A chance to be the main act in a clown show tonight." Leo led Isabelle over to Mr. Wagner, who had just finished taking a picture with Kevin. "Mr. Wagner," Leo said, clearing his throat, "we'd like to get a picture with you." "Oh, of course. Come on over. I was just thinking that with your personalities, you two probably wouldn't be into taking photos," Mr. Wagner said, his face breaking into a wide smile. Leo stood between them and held up his phone. "Okay, ready? Say cheese." Click, click. He took 2 shots, but neither came out very well. Mr. Wagner, being a math teacher and a perfectionist, frowned at the screen. "Leo, your photo skills aren't great." Leo feigned surprise, deleting the bad photos with a look of annoyance. "Really? Then why don't you take it, sir? I heard your hobby is photography. You must be way better at it than me." "You bet I am. Flattery worked like a charm." Mr. Wagner's face lit up. He beckoned to Leo and Isabelle. "All right, you two, get closer. Let me show you how it's done." Leo grinned and turned to Isabelle. "Well, Isabelle, let's see what the master can do." "Ah, okay." And just like that, a slightly bewildered Isabelle was standing next to Leo as Mr. Wagner held up the phone to take their picture. "All right, smile, you two." Click. In an instant, a photo of just Leo and Isabelle appeared on the screen. Mr. Wagner walked over, beaming. "See? Not bad, right? You're a pro, sir." Mr. Wagner puffed out his chest, enjoying the praise. He proudly held up the phone again. "Of course I am." "Okay, this time, I'll hold the phone, and we'll get a selfie of the 3 of us." "No need, sir. We have to go," Leo said. Before Mr. Wagner could react, Leo plucked the phone from his hand, stuffed it in his pocket, and turned to leave. Isabelle pursed her lips to hide a smile, said a quick "thank you, sir" to Mr. Wagner, and hurried after Leo. They had appeared as quickly as they had vanished, leaving a very confused Mr. Wagner standing alone, a look of pure bewilderment on his face. "Wait, that's not right. Didn't they just say they wanted to take a picture with me? Hey, how did I end up becoming their personal photographer?" That afternoon, every corner of the campus was filled with small groups of students taking pictures. Even though they were breaking the rule about using phones in the academic buildings, the teachers and administrators all turned a blind eye. They knew the students were just trying to capture every last memory of their high school lives. Of course, once evening study hall started, no one dared to have their phones out. The grade-level dean loved catching troublemakers who tried to bend the rules after a school event. Strange, she took personal leave and still isn't back? Leo glanced at the empty seat beside him and muttered to himself. Ever since he'd sent their picture to Isabelle that afternoon, she had immediately requested to leave school. At that moment, in a photo printing shop in Crestview, Isabelle stood with a cool expression as she transferred the files to the clerk. "I want 100 prints of each of these 3 photos. Just these 3. Yes." The clerk was a bit stunned but started the job as requested. Lester, standing beside her, was incredibly curious. Miss Thornton had called him in a panic that afternoon, telling him to come to the school immediately. Thinking it was an emergency, he had sped to Northwood High with 2 bodyguards in tow. But when he saw her, all she said was that she needed to go to the best photo printing shop in Crestview. "Miss, what kind of photos are you printing?" Isabelle lifted her chin, a smile playing on her lips, her eyes sparkling. "Good neighbor photos." "Good neighbor photos?" Lester and the 2 bodyguards were confused. The 3 of them cautiously peeked at the printing machine just as the first photo emerged. "Miss." The 2 bodyguards sucked in a sharp breath and looked at each other, their eyes wide with shock. "This is bad. She actually took a picture alone with a boy. If the boss finds out, he'll kill the kid in the photo." Only Lester, upon seeing the picture, broke into a wide, fatherly grin. "This ship is everything. It's too cute. I'm a perfectly healthy man, and I think I'm getting diabetes from the sweetness. Miss Thornton and Mr. Yeager, they're even sweeter than my bad boy next door." June 5th, 5:00 p.m. The classroom fans whirred rhythmically, blending with a cicada song from the willow trees outside. It was a unique pre-battle anthem for the impending final exams. 10 minutes left in the period. Mr. Wagner wrote the last word on the blackboard, gently set down the chalk, and turned to face his students. "All right, that's it. The last class of your high school career is officially over. When you go home today, you'll be saying goodbye to this chapter of your lives. Tomorrow, you'll come in to confirm your exam details, and the day after, you'll face the final battle, graduation exams." He smiled warmly. "It's like a video game. You started at level 1, grinding for experience, collecting gear, and upgrading your skills. The day after tomorrow is the final boss fight." Everyone sat up straight, their eyes filled with a sad reluctance to let the moment go. Leo glanced at Isabelle and saw a hint of the same emotion in her eyes. Mr. Wagner's own eyes started to redden. "From this day on, you are no longer the worst class I've ever had in my book. But you all know the truth. I was only pushing you because I want you to become even better adults. My knowledge is limited, and though I've given you everything I have, I know it's not enough. I wish you all a brilliant future, and I hope all your hard work pays off. It has been my honor to know each and every one of you," he finished, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for the last 3 years." With that, he walked to the center of the podium and gave them a deep, long bow. The room was silent for a moment, as if time had frozen. Then, someone started clapping, and in an instant, the room was filled with thunderous applause. Brian White shot to his feet, his voice choked with tears. "Mr. Wagner, you're the best teacher we could have asked for. We'll never forget you." His outburst broke the dam, and other students began calling out. "We'll do our best on the exams, sir. We won't let class 5 down. We won't let you down. Thank you for everything these past 3 years, Mr. Wagner." One by one, they shared their gratitude. Nearly all the girls were crying, and many of the boys turned their heads away to discreetly wipe their eyes. Mr. Wagner straightened up, a tearful smile on his face. "Class, graduation isn't the end. It's a new beginning. No matter where you go from here, always remember the days we fought together, and remember this warm family we built." His voice trembled, but it was full of strength. He lifted his glasses to wipe his eyes. Okay, there are still a few minutes left. You all take one last look at your books, and I'll take one last look at you." The atmosphere in the room was a bittersweet mix of warmth and sorrow. Everyone knew this might be the last time they were all together like this. They quietly packed their things, their eyes shimmering. Just then, Isabelle handed Leo a tissue. "Wipe your eyes." "I'm not crying," he said stubbornly. "Then look up and say that to me." Little Leo is so stubborn, she thought. His little pearls are about to drip onto the floor. Leo turned his head away, his nose burning. He refused to look up, terrified she would see his red-rimmed eyes. Ring. The final bell rang, right on schedule. Students slung their backpacks on, hugged their books to their chests, and gave their classmates one last, lingering look before silently filing out of the room. A summer meeting ending with a summer goodbye. As they walked, the school's PA system began playing a nostalgic, acoustic song about saying goodbye to old friends and times gone by. Countless students paused, looking back at the school building with a lost expression. Because they had to carry all their books home, Isabelle had suggested the night before that Leo leave his bike and ride home with her. As they walked toward the school gate, they both stopped when they heard the song. Suddenly, Isabelle turned her head. "Leo, our testing rooms for the finals are right next to each other." "Hi, yeah, what a coincidence. Looks like we'll still be neighbors for the exam. Leo said, scratching the back of his head with a goofy smile. They had both been shocked when they got their admission tickets and saw their assignments. Talk about fate. Leo, we're going for barbecue tonight. Miles is coming too. Pre-finals barbecue. There's a certain thrill to it. Kevin popped out of nowhere, throwing an arm around Leo's shoulder. He glanced at Isabelle and added, Isabelle, you want to come too? Yes, of course I want to go. You're a good man, Kevin. Isabelle's eyes lit up, but Leo shook his head. Probably shouldn't. We should be studying. And besides, the exams aren't until the day after tomorrow. How is this the eve of the exams? Well, my mom would never let me out tomorrow night, Kevin said with a grin. He wasn't giving up. Come on, come on. It's my treat. You guys just have to show up and eat. Really, I can't. Seeing Leo refuse again, Kevin took a deep breath, pulled a $50 bill from his pocket, and went for the nuclear option. If you come, this loyal son will present this tribute to his godfather. Leo's expression changed instantly. You think you could just throw your money around and get whatever you want? He said, his tone stern. Well, let me tell you. He snatched the bill. Of course you can. He pocketed the cash and turned to Isabelle with a huge grin. Let's go, Isabelle. Someone's paying. Kevin's mouth twitched. Damn, he's shameless. All right, meet at the second factory night market later, Kevin said, patting his backpack. I'm gonna go drop this stuff off first. It's crazy heavy. After Kevin left, Leo smugly stuffed the 50 into his pocket. Let's go, Isabelle. Don't want to keep Lester waiting. Leo, would you do anything Kevin asked as long as he was paying? Obviously. Who doesn't love free stuff? It's not just Kevin. I'd do it for anyone. Leo said with a wink. Who would say no to money? Isabelle listened to his answer, her eyes narrowing as she studied him for a few seconds. Suddenly, a playful smile touched her lips, and a mischievous glint appeared in her eyes. Leo, I have a few bucks too. After dropping their books at home, Lester drove Leo and Isabelle to the second factory night market. It was close to Kevin's house, and as soon as they got out of the car, they saw him with his arms slung around Miles, waving them over. Over here, over here. Leo made the introductions. This is Miles, a good friend of mine and Kevin's. Miles, this is Isabelle, my neighbor. The moment Miles saw Isabelle, his eyes widened in awe. Kevin had told him Leo's deskmate was coming, but he had just assumed it was a regular classmate. He was stunned. A girl? A girl this gorgeous? After a moment of shock, he recovered and blurted out, right? Nice to meet you, Mrs. Yeager. Leo's expression froze. Kevin was equally dumbfounded. Whoa, does Miles want a promotion that badly? What kiss up? Panicked, Leo smacked Miles on the back of the head. Dude, don't call her that. Her name is Isabelle Thornton. I told you. She's my neighbor and my deskmate. That's it. Oh, I get it, bro, Miles said, before immediately turning to Isabelle to apologize. Sorry, Mrs. Yeager. My mistake. Jesus, just shut up. Leo clamped a hand over Miles's mouth and dragged him and Kevin towards a food stall. Watching the three of them retreat, Isabelle couldn't help but smile. The gentle breeze rustled the hem of her skirt, making for a beautiful picture in the hazy twilight. Team Leo Bell had just gained a new member. The four of them found a barbecue stall and sat down. Kevin handed over the menu. Leo, Miles, Isabelle, order whatever you want. Leo waved it off. I'm good with anything. Let them order. Miles shook his head. Me too. Let Mrs. Yeager order. Isabelle nodded. I'll order. Kevin grinned at the scene, secretly giving Miles a thumbs up under the table. Leo watched in horror as Isabelle ordered a mountain of food. She then handed the menu back to the server with a cool, collected expression and resumed her prim posture. A strange tightness gripped his chest. He felt like he couldn't breathe. Soon the food arrived. During the meal, Kevin, the chatterbox, kept the conversation flowing with Leo and Miles. The three of them got so carried away talking that they barely touched their food. No one noticed Isabelle, sitting next to Leo, steadily working her way through the skewers, one small bite at a time. Her pace quickened, and her eyes grew brighter with every bite. By the time the guys realized the food was getting cold, they looked down to find that most of it was gone. Kevin's eyes bugged out. Wait, where'd all the food go? Isabelle froze, slowly putting down the skewer she had just picked up. She dabbed her mouth with a napkin. Miles pouted. Leo, not cool, man. You were stuffing your face while we were talking. Yeah, dude, that's low, Kevin added. Leo was flabbergasted. What? I didn't eat that much. Isabelle fell silent for a moment, then turned to him, her expression disapproving. Leo, why won't you admit you ate all that food? Leo was completely lost for words. He was about to argue when he noticed that all the empty metal skewers were neatly piled on his plate. What the hell? Who put all these skewers on my plate? So you admit it's your plate? Isabelle's brow furrowed. Since you're so hungry, we should just order more. Leo stared, dumbfounded. He distinctly remembered being deep in conversation with Kevin and Miles. He'd had a few skewers, sure, but definitely not that many. So where did the mountain of empty sticks on his plate come from? His head whipped around to look at Isabelle. She was innocently gazing off into the distance, the picture of perfect innocence. Since they had to go to the school the next day to check their exam rooms and do a final English listening test, the group decided to call it a night around 9. A few minutes later, a black Maybach S680 pulled up to the curb, instantly drawing the attention of everyone nearby. As people watched, Leo and Isabelle got in and were whisked away, leaving a trail of envious stares. Miles's eyes gleamed. After a long pause, he turned to Kevin. Dude, I thought Leo swore off girls after the class president rejected him in middle school. What's this? Kevin snorted. Dating? That jerk says they're just good neighbors. There's nothing going on. If they're not dating, then why didn't she say anything when I called her Mrs. Yeager? Kevin froze. Holy crap. He's right. At first, he thought Isabelle ignored it because she was just naturally aloof. But thinking back, Miles had called her that several times during dinner, and she hadn't corrected him once. So, Miles, my man, you may be blind, but you've spotted something crucial. Oh no, does this mean Leo won't come work part-time with me anymore? I mean, her family has a Maybach. Leo won't have to work another day in his life. Kevin stroked his chin, lost in thought. Finally, he said, actually, I think he'll work even harder now. Why? Because if he slacks off even a little, he'll end up marrying into her family and living off them. Damn, I'm so jealous. Back home, Leo took a shower, planning to review his notes one last time. Only one day left until the final exams. The thought reminded him of something important he'd forgotten. Back home, Leo took a shower, planning to review his notes one last time. Only one day left until the final exams. The thought reminded him of something important he'd forgotten. He opened his phone and pulled up the footage from the security camera he'd installed in the hallway months ago. He found the date from a month back, the day his Aunt Brenda had caused a scene at his door. He clipped all the footage of her and sent it to Mr. Wallace, his lawyer. After that was done, he was about to grab a textbook when a new Discord message popped up. Leo, do you know how to fix pipes? I think the one in my bathroom just broke. A broken pipe? Leo thought. He typed back, on my way, grabbed his toolbox, and went to knock on Isabelle's door. Living alone for the past 3 years had forced him to learn how to fix everything to save money. Light bulbs, windows, plumbing appliances. He was a jack of all trades. Ding dong. He pressed the doorbell. It rang only once before the door swung open. So what's wrong with the pie hiss? Leo took one look inside, and his eyes nearly popped out of his head. Am I even allowed to be seeing this? Life is like a box of assorted chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. For instance, the moment Isabelle Thornton's front door swung open, the first thing Leo Yeager saw was a pair of long, gleamingly white legs. His eyes traveled up from them to find Isabelle wrapped in nothing but a plush white towel. The light from the hallway spilled over her, making her porcelain skin glow. Damp strands of hair were stuck to her cheeks, giving her an air of lazy, effortless beauty. Her eyes, clear as an autumn lake, held a hint of shyness. Her delicate collarbones were so defined they could have held a splash of water, and her shoulders curved in a graceful line, elegant but not bony. The towel pulled taut across her chest, and her cheeks were flushed the color of a blossoming peach. Leo's eyes went wide, and for a second, he had no idea where he was supposed to look. A hot blush crept up his neck. Sorry, he stammered. I didn't know you were. Like this. A matching shade of red bloomed on Isabelle's face. She clutched the towel tighter. It's fine. I was in the shower, and the pipe suddenly burst. The hot water's out. Hearing her explanation, Leo looked up in surprise. He finally noticed the half-rinsed suds still clinging to her wet hair and arms. She must have had to jump out mid-shower. Well, I could try to fix it. Okay. Isabelle bit her lip and nodded quickly. Not wanting to linger at the door, Leo grabbed the toolbox he'd brought from home and had her lead him to the bathroom. He kept his head down as he followed her, terrified of seeing something he shouldn't. Which, of course, meant his gaze landed directly on the towel stretched snugly over her perfectly round backside. The sight was so unexpectedly alluring, he felt a jolt of excitement that nearly took his breath away. The bathroom was thick with steam and smelled richly of her floral body wash. The thought that she had just been showering in here sent a rush of heat through him, and his imagination started to run wild. But the soft pat-pat-pat of Isabelle's bare feet on the tile behind him snapped him out of it. Leo located the source of the spray. The hose connecting to the shower head had a leak and was jetting water all over the wall. The moment he got close, his shirt was instantly soaked. Okay, not a huge deal, he said, wiping water from his face and turning to her. The hose is just old and cracked. It really needs to be replaced, but it's pretty late to buy a new one. I can patch it with some plumber's tape for now. You can have Lester get someone to fix it properly tomorrow. Wow, Leo's amazing. He can fix windows, and now he can fix pipes too. Who wouldn't love a guy who can do everything? Okay, thank you. That would be great. Leo pressed one hand against the pipe to stem the flow and started to unspool the tape with the other. Since he didn't have a free hand, he had to ask Isabelle for help. Can you tear off a piece of tape for me? Oh, okay. Isabelle obediently started pulling the tape. Halfway through, Leo quickly stopped her. Whoa, that's plenty. A foot is more than enough. 5 minutes later, the hissing spray stopped, and the water on the floor gurgled down the drain. Leo stood up and met Isabelle's gaze. For a second, he felt like he might get a nosebleed. Isabelle seemed to realize how little she was wearing, too. She looked down, her bare toes tracing invisible patterns on the wet floor. The air suddenly felt thick with unspoken things. This time, it was Isabelle who broke the silence. Leo, how did you know the tape I tore off was a foot long? Oh, that, Leo said, scratching the back of his head. He knew she was just making conversation to cut the tension. My eyes are rulers. Oh, Isabelle nodded, her voice barely a whisper. My eyes are rulers. She glanced down her chest, then subtly pulled the towel a little higher. Leo caught the small movement and rubbed his nose, so embarrassed he had to turn his head away. I should go. You can finish your shower now. You still got shampoo in your hair. Okay. Leo practically fled the apartment, pulling the door shut behind him. After he was gone, Isabelle leaned against the door, the blush still warm on her cheeks. She bit her lip, a strange, fluttering feeling stirring inside her. A moment later, the sound of the shower started up again. Once she was done, Isabelle emerged, her long, pale legs carrying her to the desk in her bedroom. She opened a light blue diary and, in a neat, elegant script, wrote a single line. Leo Yeager is a coward. He couldn't even stand to stay for one extra second. The next morning, Leo didn't wake up until 10. He sat up in bed, running a hand through his messy hair. He felt drained, and the dark circles under his eyes were pronounced. Most importantly, the floor next to his bed was littered with crumpled-up tissues. Achoo! He sneezed twice, then fell silent as he stared at the tissues. TCH, all I did was get a little wet fixing a pipe last night, and I catch a cold this bad? He muttered. Being a senior has really taken a toll on my immune system. Sighing, Leo got up to mix himself a glass of cold and flu powder. He'd spent half the night with a runny nose, which explained the pile of tissues. Then, inevitably, the image of Isabelle wrapped in just a towel flashed through his mind. A certain part of him immediately stirred to attention. He shook his head violently, trying to clear the thought. If he kept this up, the tissues on the floor wouldn't just be from his runny nose. After lunch, Kevin Shion came over to go with him to the final school orientation before the SATs. While waiting for Leo to change, Kevin spotted the trash can overflowing with tissues. His mouth formed a perfect, holy crap. Dude, were you on a bender last night? What's with all the tissues? Get lost, Leo snapped, annoyed. Can't you see I have a cold? He finished changing, and they headed out. As they walked through the school gates, joking around, they saw Khloe and Sophie walking toward them from a distance. Leo barely gave them a passing glance. Seeing this, Khloe bit down hard on her lower lip. Ever since graduation photos, rumors have been flying around school that Leo and Isabelle were getting closer. Several times, Khloe had seen them eating lunch together in the cafeteria, sitting face to face. That, combined with the fact that Leo had just looked right past her, sent a sharp sting through her heart. There had been nothing in his eyes. No anger, no longing, nothing. He'd looked at her like she was a complete stranger. No, even a stranger, upon seeing her for the first time, would have shown a flicker of surprise or admiration. She was attractive after all, but Leo, nothing. Khloe's lip trembled. Sophie, she said, her voice laced with misery, do you think Leo really doesn't like me anymore? The price of a shirt is £9.15. A tinny, slightly garbled voice crackled over the school's PA system, playing a sample audio clip for the upcoming test. After signing in at their assigned testing rooms for the SATs, Leo and Kevin decided to grab lunch before heading home. Halfway there, a thought seemed to strike Kevin. Hey, Leo, he said with a sly grin. How come I haven't seen your totally platonic little neighbor today? How should I know? You really don't know? Or are you just pretending? Of course I really don't know. We're neighbors, not roommates, Leo said, sticking to his story. In truth, he had planned to come with Isabelle today. But not long after he'd woken up, he heard a commotion in the hallway. Peeking through his peephole, he saw Lester talking to Isabelle about her father coming home. They left in a hurry. A short while later, he got a message from her on Discord. Isabelle, 10:25 a.m. My dad's back, so I have to go to the estate for lunch. I can't go with you to the orientation this afternoon. Isabelle, 12:13 p.m. The food from the Michelin star chef isn't good at all. The greasy barbecue from that food truck is way better. We'll go again after finals. Remembering her messages, a small smile played on Leo's lips. He wasn't sure when it started, but Isabelle had begun messaging him all the time. Seeing his friend grinning like an idiot, Kevin yanked him back to reality. Hello, Earth to Leo. Stop smiling like that. Ever since we switched seats, I've officially become your new wingman, and I haven't slept in class once. Plus, I think I've gotten way more handsome. I was thinking after finals we could go work as models. Huh? Leo paused, giving Kevin a weird look. Who gave you that idea? Everyone. Haven't you noticed how many people have been checking me out today? The way they look at me is totally different. Leo pressed his lips together. Right. But is there any chance, just a possibility, that they're all looking because your fly is down? He squinted. And whoa, are those purple boxers? Bold choice. Kevin froze for a second, then looked down. Son of a... He was so used to wearing his school uniform that he'd completely forgotten to zip up his jeans after using the restroom. After some more roughhousing, they went their separate ways at intersection. Leo, good luck on the test tomorrow. Kevin yelled. You too. Tomorrow, we go to war. June 7th, 2018. Northwood High School, testing room 19. The moment the bell rang, Leo Yeager put his pen to paper. The only sound in the room was the soft scratching of pencils on scantrons and the occasional rustle of a test booklet being turned. Many students frowned in concentration, wrestling with difficult questions. A few, whose nerves were getting the better of them, even started tearing up when a simple fact they'd memorized just wouldn't come to mind. But Leo moved at a lightning pace. If he couldn't figure out a problem within 2 minutes, he skipped it and moved on, so his pen almost never stopped moving. Brawling. This testing session has concluded. Please put your pencils down. As the bell rang for the final English section, Leo, who had finished his test 20 minutes ago, let out a long, slow breath. High school was officially over. Once the proctors collected all the answer sheets and booklets, students began pouring out of the classrooms. It wasn't just Leo's floor. The entire school erupted in cheers. We're free. Finally free. 3 years. Do you have any idea what I've been through these last 3 years? Oh my God, this feels so good. Finals are done. From now on, the only thing that can tell me what to do is the Constitution. I'm going to play video games for 10 hours a day. I won't stop unless I pass out. Amid the jubilant chaos, there were also quiet sobs. Students thought back on the 3 years of hard work it had taken to get to this point, and their eyes welled with tears. They had finally made it through. Through the cheering crowd, Leo saw Isabelle emerge from the testing room next door. She stood quietly in the middle of the hallway, a faint smile on her face. Leo waved and walked over to her. How'd it go? I did fine. The English section was the easiest. I finished with 40 minutes to spare. After I filled in the bubbles, I spent the rest of the time writing your name over and over on the scratch paper. Leo narrowed his eyes at her. Standing there in the bustling hallway, she still had that cool, detached expression, a perfect picture of an unapproachable ice queen. How could someone who looked like absolute zero be such a lovesick psycho on the inside? Leo, I'm hungry, Isabelle said suddenly. Let's get fried chicken. There's a new place that opened up near the apartment complex. Isabelle's eyes narrowed in displeasure. But you promised you'd take me for barbecue yesterday. That stuff will give you cancer. I'm giving you a change of pace. Leo, I want to get a little bit of cancer. Huh. Staring at Isabelle's deadpan face, Leo wondered if he'd heard her correctly. Hey, that wasn't your inner voice. What you just said does not fit your Ice Queen persona at all. He stared at her for a long moment, confirming that she had, in fact, said those words out loud. His expression became a mixture of shock and amusement. Fine, we'll get barbecue. But this time, you're not allowed to secretly dump your empty skewers on my plate when you're done. Okay. I'm still doing it. Khloe, how was the test? Sophie asked, having waited for her at the school gate. It was fine, I guess. Sigh. Khloe's voice was flat, her mood clearly low. Sophie frowned. That's great. So why do you seem so unhappy? After I finished, I just sat there staring into space. I was thinking about how nice Leo used to be to me. And he's not bad-looking, you know? He gets good grades, he's tall, he's kind of cute. Out of all the guys who are into me, I don't think any of them are as solid a package as he is. So you're saying, finals are over. I'm thinking I might want to try dating someone. and Leo's a pretty good option. I'm gonna give him a chance. Sophie blinked. Sophie was shocked. Sophie nodded in agreement. Yes, Khloe. I've always thought Leo was a good guy. I know he's been acting cold lately, but like you said, he's only been hanging out with Isabelle to get your attention. If you go up to him now and tell him you're willing to give it a shot, he'll drop Isabelle in a second and come running back to you. Exactly, Khloe said with a cool nod. It's time for Isabelle Thornton to learn that she was just a pawn. Just then, Sophie's eyes widened. Khloe, look, isn't that Leo and Isabelle up ahead? It is. Perfect. Now, she can find out just how little she compares to me. With that, Khloe smoothed her hair and strode confidently toward Leo. Leo? Question mark. Leo and Isabelle had just reached the school gate when they ran smack into Khloe and Sophie. Leo's brow furrowed instantly. Whenever these two showed up, trouble was sure to follow. Sure enough, before Leo could react, Khloe shot a dismissive glance at Isabelle, then lifted her chin. How did you do on the test? Great. Good. That's a relief. By the way, I did really well, too. With my grades and my art supplement scores, the colleges I'm applying to should be about the same as yours. Khloe flicked her hair back confidently. Why is this horrible woman here again? I'm supposed to be going to get cancer-causing barbecue with Leo right now. And who cares how she did on the test? Hearing Isabelle's internal complaint, Leo was equally baffled. Who asked about her scores? And what did her college applications have to do with him? He looked down, offered a non-committal "oh," and prepared to walk away with Isabelle. Oh, Khloe froze. She immediately understood his cold attitude. He was still playing hard to get. After all, Isabelle was right there next to him, and his real goal was to get her attention. Deciding to be the bigger person, Khloe cut straight to the point. Leo, what I mean is there's a good chance we could end up at the same university. Right. I've been thinking about it a lot, and you were really good to me these past 3 years. So, I want to give you a chance. We could try dating. Leo stared at her, horrified. A wave of goosebumps broke out across his skin. Standing next to him, the normally stoic Isabelle's expression finally cracked, a flicker of something unreadable in her eyes. Their reactions pleased Khloe. Being direct is always the best strategy. She tilted her head up smugly. I know why you've been acting this way lately, and why you've been hanging out with Isabelle. You were trying to get my attention. She paused. I'll admit, it worked. You made me realize what I really want. You could drop this pawn now. Let's just date normally. I don't like it when you're around other girls. Leo almost laughed. So that's what this was about. All this time, Khloe thought he was hanging out with Isabelle just to make her jealous. He wanted to call her the queen of writing her own fanfiction. You're overthinking it, he said flatly. Me being friends with Isabelle has absolutely nothing to do with you. And let me make this clear one more time. I have never had a crush on you. We're practically adults now. You should stop making up stories in your head. Be good now. Khloe's eyes widened, her pride taking a massive hit. He never liked me? Impossible. That's absolutely impossible. If he never liked me, then why was he so nice to me before? Leo, I'm already offering to date you. Why are you still being so stubborn? I'm telling you right now, you don't have to have a secret crush on me anymore. You can like me out in the open. She took a breath and continued. If you don't like me, then why did you help me carry all my luggage to the girls' dorm on the first day of freshman year? Because my aunt wanted to suck up to your family, so she told me to look out for you at school. I had to do it for my allowance. Then what about the track meet freshman year? My blood sugar dropped after a race, and you bought me candy. Because my aunt wanted to suck up to your family. Sophomore year, I bombed my first dance competition and cried all afternoon. You skipped evening study hall to comfort me. Why? Still because my aunt wanted to suck up to your family. In the first semester of senior year, I was skipping breakfast to lose weight, and you brought me food every single morning and made me eat. Was that because of your aunt, too? Leo shook his head. Oh, that actually wasn't because of her. Khloe stamped her foot, her eyes lighting up. See, I knew you liked me. Ahem. Your mom found out about it somehow. She cornered me, slipped me $300, and told me to find a way to make you eat breakfast every day. I didn't want to do it, but she offered me too much money. So, I was the pawn. Khloe was about to explode. Leo, if it wasn't for your aunt, you wouldn't have done any of those things. Are you kidding? You think I'm crazy? He looked at her with contempt. If it wasn't for the money, forget doing any of that. You think someone who was barely passing had any right to even talk to a straight-A student like me? It was like a king telling his worthless nephew, if you weren't my nephew, you'd have to ask my dog for permission to breathe the same air. After a full day of testing and not much lunch, Leo was starving. Eager to get going, he tried to steer Isabelle around Khloe and Sophie. But Khloe, her face twisted with shame and fury, spread her arms to block their path. Leo, I'm giving you one last chance. Leave Isabelle Thornton and be with me. I can dance, I'm pretty, and my family is well off. Why are you so obsessed with her? What makes you think Isabelle isn't as pretty as you, or that her family isn't as well off as yours? The question stopped Khloe cold. In her anger, she'd forgotten that Isabelle was chauffeured to and from school in a car that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Her own family was, at best, upper middle class. Compared to the Thorntons, they were nothing. Realizing she had no leverage, Khloe's eyes suddenly filled with tears. So what? Leo, you don't even have parents. What makes you think you deserve someone like Isabelle Thornton? The only reason you're even close to her is because she happens to be your neighbor. To use your own words, if she wasn't conveniently your neighbor, what right would someone like you have to even be associated with her? If I were you, I would never cling to her like this. This time, before Leo could speak, Isabelle pursed her lips and said in a cool, clear voice, "You're mistaken, miss." Did you hear that, Leo? Even Isabelle says you're mistaken. See yourself for who you are, okay? You're just neighbors. Khloe interrupted excitedly, her face red as she yelled at him. Her interruption clearly annoyed Isabelle. Why does this awful woman love cutting people off? Isabelle's eyes narrowed, and her voice grew uncharacteristically louder. Miss, I wasn't finished. I meant that you're mistaken about who is clinging to whom. To be precise, I'm the one clinging to Leo. She paused, and I only moved in next door to him because of him. I'm the one clinging to him. I only moved in next door to him because of him. When Khloe heard those two sentences, her mouth fell open and her mind went blank. She was completely floored. She had expected Leo to come up with some excuse to shut her down, but she never imagined Isabelle would step in to defend him. Isabelle Thornton, the ice queen of Northwood High, the girl who seemed to float above the rest of them, was admitting she chased after a boy. Was this a joke? Even if Leo had prepped her beforehand to say something just to spite Khloe, there was no way she would go this far. Could it be that Leo and Isabelle's relationship wasn't just about being classmates and neighbors? After a long pause, Khloe looked at Isabelle, her expression a mess of confusion. What? What are you to Leo? Neighbor. Deskmate. Isabelle replied evenly. Then why would you? Why would you approach him? Because he plays fire boy and water girl with me. Isabelle said, a faint smile touching her lips. We're gaming buddies. Just then, Lester pulled up in the Maybach. Wearing white gloves, he got out and approached them. Miss Thornton, Mr. Yeager, we should be going. Rush hour is starting, and the traffic might get heavy. Okay. Isabelle nodded softly. Leo, I'm very hungry. Right? Food. Let's go. Leo, still a bit stunned, got into the car with her. He was ecstatic. He thought his own comebacks had been devastating enough, but he never expected Isabelle to jump in and deliver the killing blow. Damn, there's always a bigger fish. Sliding into the back of the Maybach, right in front of Khloe and Sophie, Leo felt years of being hunched over with insecurity finally straighten out. TCH, the internet was right. It's impossible to feel self-conscious inside a Maybach. Virum, once they were settled, Lester hit the gas. The engine let out a low growl, and the car sped away, leaving Khloe and Sophie standing alone at the school gate. Khloe was silent for a long time before she finally spoke, her voice strained. Sophie, what? What is Fireboy and Water Girl? I think it's a two-player browser game. Sophie said, equally bewildered. I saw my little cousin playing it once. If she wasn't mistaken, Isabelle and Leo had just perfectly executed a tag team takedown. A simple two-player game. Is that all it takes for Isabelle to do something like that for Leo? Khloe mused, lost in thought. And just now, Isabelle had called her Miss. It was like she didn't even remember her name. How ironic was that? Sophie, however, thought about it for a moment and decided it didn't add up. The daughter of the Thornton family, chauffeured in a Maybach, won over by a simple browser game? Impossible. Finally, she came to a different conclusion and voiced it cautiously. Khloe, is it possible? And I'm just saying, it's a possibility that the game is just an excuse? Maybe Isabelle did that because she likes Leo. She likes Leo? You gotta be kidding me. Khloe stared at the spot where the Maybach had disappeared, her mind reeling. A light breeze blew a few strands of hair across her cheek. Her eyes were wide with shock and confusion. If that was true, then where did that leave her? Isabelle had the looks, and she had the money. What did Khloe have? A pleasant personality? Miss Thornton, Mr. Yeager, was my timing acceptable? Lester asked with a chuckle from the driver's seat. Isabelle just gave a soften, her gaze drifting out the window. Leo told that horrible woman to be good. But he's never said that to me. I'm sad. Leo coughed loudly to cover the awkward silence and engaged with Lester. Lester, you got a lot of skills for a driver. That was some expert-level timing, showing up like that. Is that part of the job description? You're too kind, Mr. Jaeger. But I learned it all from novels. What novels? Leo asked reflexively. My bad boy next door. You rejected me. So why are you crying now that I'm with the campus queen? The urban miracle doctor, the elite, all-powerful mercenary king. The master returns from the mountain to crush the chosen one. And Leo was speechless. So they're all cheesy web novels, full of second-chance romance and underdog revenge fantasies. Figures. That's our Lester. Soon, they arrive at a bustling area full of food trucks and stalls. Leo and Isabelle got out and were immediately met with curious glances. This was Crestview, a major city, so luxury cars weren't a rare sight. But most people assumed the wealthy dined in private rooms at five-star restaurants. Seeing a Maybach S680, a car worth a small fortune, pull up to a night market, complete with a white-gloved chauffeur, was definitely a surprise. They found a table and ordered 30 beef skewers, 30 tendon skewers, a whole grilled fish, and 2 cold appetizers. Okay, that should be good for now, Leo said, handing the menu back to the server. But just as the server was about to leave, Isabelle narrowed her eyes and added, and 2 orders of grilled kidneys. Leo, server. The server's eyes went wide. After a moment, he shot Leo a look that said, I get it, buddy, before turning back to Isabelle. Right away, miss. As he walked away, Leo stared at Isabelle. You're eating grilled kidneys? Not me. You, she said, pressing her lips together. I saw online that they're really good for a man's health. I'm perfectly healthy, and I'm not eating them. Go tell that server to cancel the kidneys right now. Why? Isabelle looked genuinely confused. Seeing her innocent, bewildered expression, Leo knew she'd only gotten half the story online. She knew they were good for men, but she clearly had no idea how they were good for men, and there was no way he could explain it to her. Ahem, just trust me. I'm not eating them. Eat them. Be good. Leo's eyebrow twitched. Something felt off. Was it because Isabelle was getting bolder? Just a few days ago, she would have only dared to think these things, but now she was saying them out loud. After they finished eating, the table was covered in empty skewers. Leo could have sworn his lower back felt unusually warm. Just then, the ever-present Lester reappeared. Miss Thornton, the staff just called. Your father was unhappy that you weren't home for dinner. If you don't come back to stay the night. Oh, I know. Isabelle's expression soured. Seeing this, Leo tactfully said, I can get home by myself. You and Lester should head back to the estate. It's fine. We'll drop you off first. Really, you don't have to. It's not far. I can just walk. Isabelle lifted her chin, a sly smile playing on her lips. Listen to me. We'll drop you off first. Be good. Leo's eyes widened. He finally realized what had felt so off earlier. Isabelle was still hung up on the fact that he'd told Khloe to be good at the school gate. This wasn't her being nice. This was world-class, passive-aggressive sarcasm. In the end, Leo was driven home by Lester. Just before the car pulled away, Isabelle rolled down the window and said with a light laugh, See you tomorrow, Leo. Be good. Leo stood there for a long moment, staring at the Maybach's taillights before turning to take the elevator up to his apartment. It had been over a month since Isabelle had become his neighbor. They had gone from being simple classmates to deskmates and now close neighbors. Studying, eating, and playing games together had become their new normal. Most importantly, when she had first moved in, Leo could constantly hear her inner thoughts, which were always in stark contrast to her cool exterior. But as they grew closer, he realized that while he could still hear them, the frequency had noticeably decreased. Phew. Leo opened his door and collapsed onto the sofa. Finals were over. High school was a thing of the past. Not long ago, he'd had a massive falling out with Brenda, and his financial support was completely cut off. To be independent, he needed to start making money, and fast. Of course, there's one more important thing. Leo narrowed his eyes, opened his messaging app, and found the contact saved as Mr. Wallace. Leo, Mr. Wallace, I'm done with my finals. As we discussed, we can move forward with the lawsuit against Brenda. The reply was almost instantaneous. Mr. Wallace, no problem. The security camera footage you sent me will be our strongest piece of evidence. I've also spent the last few weeks organizing all the other evidence you've saved over the years. If you have time the next few days, come by my office. We need to discuss the details in person. Leo, I can be there tomorrow. Mr. Wallace, perfect. See you then. After ending the conversation, Leo lay on the sofa, staring at the chat window. Mr. Wallace was a lawyer at Sterling Whitelaw Associates, one of the most reputable firms in Crestview. Its founder, Bianca White, was supposedly a legendary lawyer from New York with a 95% success rate. Normally, Getting a lawyer from Sterling White required an appointment and cost a fortune, something Leo could never afford. But his connection to Mr. Wallace was unique. During the summer after his sophomore year, Leo was working a shift sorting packages at a warehouse. As he was moving boxes, he saw a scrawny kid working as a loader next to a delivery truck. The kid wasn't paying attention, and a towering stack of boxes he just unloaded began to teeter precariously. Just as the kid turned his back, the whole stack started to fall right on top of him. Luckily, Leo saw it coming. He sprinted over and tackled the boy out of the way. In the end, the kid only ended up with a badly bruised leg. And Mr. Wallace was that boy's father. As a thank you, he tried to give Leo a cash reward, but Leo refused it. Look, Leo, if it wasn't for you, my son would have been hurt a lot worse than just his leg. If you won't take the money, at least let me buy you dinner to show my gratitude. Dinner I can do. Later, during that dinner, Leo learned that Mr. Wallace was a lawyer. On a whim, he asked if, in a situation like his, he could sue his aunt to get back his parents' survivor benefits. After hearing the details, Mr. Wallace's conclusion was swift and certain, yes. And it was then, as a way of repaying his debt to Leo, that Mr. Wallace offered to represent him pro bono in a lawsuit against Brenda and her family. The next morning, Leo went straight to Sterling White Law Associates. The office was located in a skyscraper in the heart of Crestview's central business district, and the opulent lobby left him speechless. Mr. Wallace led him into his office. Leo, have a seat, have a seat. Can I get you something? Coke, coffee. Don't go to any trouble, Mr. Wallace. Nonsense. Let me make you a coffee. A client gave me these beans. They're quite good. Mr. Wallace smiled and prepared a cup for Leo. He then sat down across from him and pulled out a thick file. Leo, this is all the evidence you've sent me. I've compiled everything that will be admissible in court. Take a look and see if there's anything you need to add. Leo nodded and took the file. As he flipped through the pages, the memories of everything Brenda's family had done to him came flooding back. Aunt Brenda, the teacher said we need to buy workbooks. If we don't have one, we have to copy all the homework problems out of a classmate's book every day. Bye. Where do you think I get the money for all this? If you have to copy, then copy. It's not like you can't do the work, but you bought one for Derek. He's my son. You're not. I'm already doing you a favor by letting you live here. Don't be so ungrateful, you little stray. In third grade, Leo was the only kid in his class without a workbook. He spent the entire year borrowing his deskmate's book and copying down every single problem. That year, Leo developed handwriting far neater than any of his peers. Aunt Brenda, I fell on my way home from school. My knee is all scraped up and bleeding. It hurts a lot. Can you take me to see a doctor? Honestly, where are your eyes? You can't even walk without falling over? Useless. Go wash it with water. It's not a big deal. Your cousin has a stomachache. I'm taking him to the clinic. Get out of the way. Aunt Brenda, I won't slow you and Derek down. Can you just give me some money? I can go to the clinic by myself. You want me to give you a slap across the face? Does it look like money grows on trees in this house? But you and Uncle Carl took my mom and dad's survivor benefits. I just want a little to get my knee checked out. How much money do you think that was? Besides, do you think it's free to live here? A hotel room costs over $100 a night. I feed you. I give you a place to sleep. That's got to be worth $300 a day easy. Do the math. How long do you think your parents' money would last? At 10 years old, because his wound wasn't treated properly, Leo was left with an ugly, permanent scar on his knee. That year, Leo never cried from pain again. Aunt Brenda, the parent-teacher conference is next week. Are you or Uncle Carl going to go? I have to go for Derek. Ask your uncle. Uncle Carl, can you come to my parent-teacher conference? Get lost. I work all day. Who the hell has time to go to a parent-teacher conference for you? But it's a parent-teacher conference. Aren't you supposed to come? Parent-teacher conferences are for parents. You don't have any, so what's the point? Fine, you want me to go? I make $100 a day at my job. Give me 200. I'll go for you. Uncle Carl, I don't have any money. My parents' money, you have all of it. No money, then get out of my sight. At the parent-teacher conference when he was 13, every student had a parent sitting next to them. Only Leo sat alone at his desk. That year, Leo attended his own parent-teacher conference. After reviewing the file Mr. Wallace had prepared, Leo was filled with a complex mix of emotions. The resilience he had now wasn't due to some innate self-control. It had been forged in the fire of his childhood with Brenda's family. He set the file down. Mr. Wallace, this all looks right. Can all of this be used as evidence? Most of it can. Some incidents lack hard proof, so in court, they'll serve more as context for the judge. However, the chat logs and the video recording you provided are very compelling. Leo nodded. He had expected as much. Because of this, he knew getting back the full amount of the benefits was a long shot. But getting back most of it would be enough. Mr. Wallace's expression shifted, and he let out a heavy sigh. Your aunt and her family. They're really something else. Ugh. Leo offered a faint smile. By the way, Mr. Wallace, have you handled cases like this before? If I want to completely sever ties with them, is there any way they can drag it out? Like in a divorce, where one party can refuse to sign the papers. Mr. Wallace shook his head. No, this is completely different from a divorce. If you want to cut them off, the most they can do is condemn you morally. But Leo, are you sure about this? As awful as they've been, they're still your only blood relatives. I'm sure, Leo said, a smile spreading across his face. Mr. Wallace, you said it yourself. All they can do is condemn me morally. But what if? I don't have any morals. He had no lingering attachments to Brenda's family. It was time to set aside his personal decency, embrace a life of ruthlessness, refuse to be gaslit, and when necessary, go completely ballistic. No morals. Mr. Wallace was taken aback for a second. Then he broke into a grin. Well, in that case, it becomes very simple. Congratulations, Leo. You're about to enjoy the freedom that comes with not giving a damn. They chatted for a while longer until Mr. Wallace took a call. Leo stood up to leave. Leo, I'll have a legal notice drafted and sent to your aunt. No, to Brenda and her family, by tomorrow at the latest. Perhaps seeing a letter from a lawyer will spark their conscience, and they'll return the money voluntarily. Don't worry, Mr. Wallace. They absolutely won't, Leo said with a smirk and walked out. In that regard, he knew Brenda's family would never disappoint him. A parasite like her would never have a crisis of conscience. They don't learn that they're wrong. They only learn that they're cornered. At the Thornton estate, in the main villa's living room, Lester stood before Isabelle, looking with a troubled expression at the Samoyed and ragdoll cat lounging on the sofa. Miss Thornton, if you take Buttercream and Oscar with you to the Maplewood, your father is bound to find out and ask questions. I don't care, Isabelle said stubbornly, crossing her arms. Lester agonized for a moment before sighing in defeat. If you insist on taking them, then just like you, they must come back to the estate with you every time you visit. Fine. Seeing Lester relent, a small smile finally appeared on Isabelle's face. You're the best, Lester. Sigh. Miss, please be careful. If your father finds out about Mr. Yeager, he will be furious and will never let you stay at the Maplewood again. Lester gave a weary smile. The truth was, every servant and guard at the estate had been hired by Isabelle's father. Only Lester, a man with no wife or children of his own, had been there since Isabelle was just learning to talk. He didn't just see her as his employer. He felt like a real uncle to her. And, of course, he was the only person at the estate who knew about Leo Yeager. It was a secret he quietly protected for her. Isabelle turned and stroked the head of the Samoyed, Buttercream. Your big sister is taking you to meet Leo today, she whispered. Woof! Meow. Buttercream and Oscar seemed to understand, responding with enthusiasm. Buttercream even started panting happily, rubbing her head against Isabelle's arm as her tail wagged furiously. Buttercream, you can break a stone on your chest, can't you? Woof! Buttercream looked confused. Isabelle continued as if to herself. If you can't, how am I supposed to trick Leo into coming over? Woof, woof, woof. On his way home, Leo got a call from Kevin. Leo, let's go to the gaming lounge. I've been holding back for a whole month. I'm dying here. Some other time. First, go get that old Accord your dad never drives. The Accord? What do you want with that thing? I have a use for it. Just get it, Leo said. Fine. I'll meet you at the entrance to your apartment complex. I haven't driven since I got my license, so I'm a little rusty. After hanging up, Leo sat on a stone bench outside the Maplewood to wait. Most people got their driver's licenses during the summer after senior year, since they were finally 18 and had a long break. But Leo and Kevin were a year older than most of their classmates and had already turned 18 as juniors. Since Leo had other plans for this summer, he had dragged Kevin along to get their licenses last year. Making big money from part-time jobs was nearly impossible. So Leo had a plan. During this summer break, he and Kevin were going to pull off something big. 20 minutes later, a black 2004 Honda Accord slowly came into view. Leo looked up. As Kevin tried to pull away from a stoplight, the car lurched forward 3 times and then stalled out completely. Crap! Leo's eye twitched. It was a miracle Kevin had made it this far without a major incident. He must have stalled out a dozen times on the way over. Phew! Damn it, I stall out at every single red light. I'm sweating buckets here, Kevin said, parking the car and walking over to Leo, his forehead glistening. He looked at Leo curiously. So, Leo, why'd you make me bring out my dad's old clunker? We're going to practice. Once we get good enough, I'm taking you to pull off something big. Pull off something big. Kevin's eyes widened. Don't tell me. You got your hands on a couple of AK-47s? Are we robbing a bank? Get lost. What do you think this is, Grand Theft Auto? You think we're going to do a drive-by in a 20-year-old Accord? Leo rolled his eyes, then explained, finals are over, right? Most people are off to driver's ed. But we got our licenses a year early, so we can't waste this summer. We're going to use it to make money. We could just get a day labor job. That pays over $100 a day, Kevin said with an innocent shrug, his expression as clear as day. No wonder Isabelle's inner voice always called him a big, simple-minded jock. The day labor jobs that pay that well are exhausting. It's fine for a few days, but if you do that for the whole summer, even Superman would be seeing red lights, Leo said patiently. Besides, I told you were going to pull off something big. With day labor, even if you work every single day, you top out at maybe $4,000 a month. Kevin frowned, glancing back at the Accord. Leo, I get what you're saying, he said hesitantly. This something big involved a car, right? You want us to practice with my dad's car? Yep. So your plan is to start a business? Yep. Hearing this, Kevin couldn't help but give a bitter smile. Leo, I might not be as smart as you, but even I know it's 2018. We're broke, we have no special skills, and we're just a couple of high school grads. Starting a business is a one-way ticket to failure. What kind of business could we possibly start? He sighed. Leo, I think you should give up on this idea. I know you need money, so if you're serious about it, let's just call Miles and find a factory job screwing on bottle caps or something. Leo wasn't annoyed by Kevin's earnestness. He knew it came from a place of genuine concern. A fake friend. You say you want to start a business, and he immediately agrees, only to tell you later that something came up with his family. Next time, for sure. A real friend. You say you want to start a business, and he immediately hesitates, offers his own advice, and tells you to think it through. Leo clapped a hand on Kevin's shoulder. You're misunderstanding me. Starting a business is a broad term. What I have in mind is a little different from what you're thinking. Huh? What do you mean? I mean creating a new hustle. Leo and Kevin spent the entire afternoon practicing on a deserted back road. By dusk, the half-tank of gas in the Accord was nearly empty, and they pulled over. Leo, I think I've got it, Kevin said excitedly. After a whole afternoon of this, I feel like I could be in the next Fast and Furious movie. What position did you sleep in last night? On my back, I guess. Why do you ask? Just wondering how you managed to have a dream like that, Leo deadpanned. Question mark. Kevin drove Leo back to his apartment complex. Before Leo got out, Kevin suddenly asked, Leo, now that finals are over, what are you going to do about your aunt and her family? Right before you picked me up, I had a meeting with Mr. Wallace. Leo, are you really going through with it? Kevin's expression was somber, but only for a moment. He nodded firmly. You're right. If I were you, I wouldn't feel any attachment to the past. Wait, there's no good past to be attached to. The evidence you have will probably just make them give the money back, which will be satisfying. But it won't do anything about all the times Derek bullied you and framed you for stuff. I say Miles and I should find him in the gaming lounge and beat the crap out of him. Don't. That's an easy way to get into trouble. Besides, a sharp glint appeared in Leo's eyes. Every bit of suffering I endured, I will pay back in full. He opened the car door and got out, telling Kevin they'd continue practicing tomorrow after lunch. Anyone who didn't know better would think we were training to be race car drivers. Kevin muttered to himself as he drove away. Leo had just finished showering and hadn't even sat down on the sofa when he got a message from Isabelle. Isabelle, Leo, come over. Fireboy and Watergirl 4-0. Leo, be right there. Leo threw on a fresh set of clothes and went across the hall to knock on 1003. While he waited, he glanced at apartment 1002, where Mark used to live. The Maplewood had a very high occupancy rate. Normally, when a tenant moved out, real estate agents would be showing the place to new people within days. Even if it wasn't rented, there would at least be tours. But ever since Mark left, Leo hadn't seen a single person come to look at the apartment. Apartment 1002. Don't tell me Isabelle actually rented that one, too. While he was pondering this, Isabelle's door finally opened. But this time, the first thing to greet him wasn't her killer pair of long legs. It was a fluffy white Samoyed that launched itself at him, its tail wagging like a metronome on hyperspeed. The sudden canine assault startled Leo, and he stumbled back a few steps. The Samoyed immediately followed, panting happily and rubbing against his legs. Just then, Isabelle appeared, wearing a simple white t-shirt and black shorts. She knelt and smilingly stroked the dog's head. Buttercream seems to really like you, she said, looking up at him. She's not usually this friendly, even with the staff at home. Wow, Buttercream really likes Leo. Oof, that's my girl. Just like me. Leo was surprised. You have a dog? Yeah, I've had Buttercream for 3 years. I also have a ragdoll cat named Oscar. Meow. As if on cue, a dopey-eyed ragdoll peeked its head out from behind the doorframe, much shyer than the Samoyed. Leo stepped inside and looked around. It was the same layout he remembered, just with the addition of cat and dog supplies. I didn't think you'd be into pets. A dog and a cat, huh? They keep me company, no questions asked, Isabelle said simply. She walked over to the balcony and drew the curtains, then turned off all the lights. The room was plunged into darkness. Leo froze, his heart starting to pound. This environment, this atmosphere. As his mind started racing, Isabelle's inner voice cut through the silence. Phew, this is much better. Nice and dark. Hee Leo, hurry up and lie down. Hearing Isabelle's inner voice, Leo felt a shiver run down his spine. Could it be? Before that thought could fully form, he heard a soft click. Light filled the living room again, but not from the overheads. A white projector screen slowly descended from the ceiling where a TV should have been. The light was coming from a small projector on the sofa, and it was now displaying the title screen for Fireboy and Watergirl. On the couch were 2 game controllers. Clearly, Isabelle had upgraded her setup. They no longer had to squeeze together in front of her computer. When he'd first come in, his attention had been entirely on Buttercream and Oscar, so he hadn't noticed the new equipment at all. Oh, so that's it. She closed the curtains so we could see the projector. And her inner voice just wanted me to lie down on the sofa to play with the controller. The realization hit him, and a hot blush spread across his face. He was always going on about how he and Isabelle were just perfectly innocent neighbors. Yet the moment the lights went out, for one brief second, he had harbored some very unneighborly thoughts. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Isabelle pursed her lips. I had Lester buy some new equipment. Now we can lie on the sofa and play with controllers. All right. Leo sat down, his eyes fixed on a massive game screen. Isabelle, her long legs on full display, retrieved drinks and snacks from the fridge. She set them on the coffee table, kicked off her slippers, and sat down next to him. Here, help yourself. Here's your controller. Let's start. Ah, okay. Leo nodded numbly, but his attention was completely captivated by her cute, pink-painted toes, which she had curled up onto the sofa cushion. The only light in the room came from the projector, so Isabelle didn't notice his intense gaze. As the game started, Leo found his eyes drifting back to her smooth, pale legs and perfect toes. Thump, 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 thump. His heart hammered against his ribs. There was a strange, fluttering feeling in his chest he couldn't name. While they played, Buttercream and Oscar lay obediently at their feet, both staring intently at the screen. Isabelle seemed completely absorbed in the game, her fingers flying across the controller as her character navigated the world of ice and fire. Quick, Leo. You need to help me here, she called out excitedly. Leo would snap back to attention, trying to focus on the game, but his gaze kept sneaking back to her. The sofa wasn't that big, and they were sitting very close. When the air conditioning blew a strand of her hair against his cheek, the faint, sweet scent filled his senses and made his heart skip a beat. It was intoxicating. Isabelle stared at the screen, her brow furrowed. Leo, get over here. You need to hit this switch. You just walked right past it, didn't you see it? On my way. Leo, you seem really slow today. You've already died twice. And maybe it's a controller? I'm not used to it. You can't even make that jump? Leo, you dummy. Oh, sorry. My bad. Leo, are my feet not that white? Of course not. They're pink and perfect, so you can't really call them WTS. Leo's body went rigid. He felt his heart stop for a full second. Oh no. He swallowed hard and slowly tore his gaze away from her legs, forcing himself to look up at her face. Sure enough, Isabelle had put down her controller. She was sitting with her arms crossed, a teasing, knowing smile on her face as she watched him. The moment their eyes met, the air in the room seemed to turn to glass. Are my feet pretty? Pervy Leo. No wonder you've been so distracted. Your mind wasn't on the game at all. With that, Isabelle uncurled her feet and tucked them under her, switching to a cross-legged position. Ahem. Leo was so embarrassed he wanted the sofa to swallow him whole. His face was beet red. He opened his mouth, but no explanation would come. On the floor, Buttercream seemed to sense the awkward tension. She lifted her head, let out a soft whine, and nudged Leo's leg with her head. Leo latched onto it like a lifeline. I think Buttercream wants us to keep playing. We stopped, and now she and Oscar have nothing to watch. Isabelle just let out a soft oomph. Leo scratched his head and forced himself to say, honestly, I really was having trouble with the new controller, and I only glanced at your feet by accident. I swear I wasn't staring. Seeing how flustered he was, Isabelle found it hilarious. She had only been teasing him, She wasn't actually mad. Just focus when you're playing, she said, lifting her chin and resuming her usual cool expression. Right. Absolutely. Leo nodded vigorously. They picked up their controllers and resumed the game. This time, Leo forced himself to concentrate solely on screen. His movements grew more fluid, and their teamwork became more synchronized. He harbored no more unneighborly thoughts. But the awkward moment had left a small ripple in the air between them. Leo would still sneak a glance at Isabelle from time to time and notice a faint, almost invisible blush on her cheeks. And to make matters worse, her inner voice was now repeating the same phrase over and over. Leo likes my feet. Leo likes my feet. Leo likes my feet. By the time Leo and Isabelle beat Fireboy and Watergirl 4-0, it was past 11 at night. Because of the little incident earlier, every time Leo made a mistake and his Fireboy died for the rest of the evening, Isabelle's inner voice would mutter darkly. Pervy Leo, looking at my feet again. You're a foot freak. Crying face. Since it was just her inner voice, there was nothing Leo could do about it. He couldn't exactly say, hey, I can hear your thoughts. Could you please stop calling me a foot freak? So, he suffered in silence, branded a foot freak in her mind for hours. Isabelle, on the other hand, felt it had been a tremendously satisfying gaming session. She turned the living room lights back on, knelt on the floor with a treat stick, and started feeding Oscar. Then she looked up at Leo, her eyes shining. Leo, let's play again tomorrow. Again? I thought there were only 4 versions of this game. All the other ones are just mods or level packs, which are basically the same thing, but with cheats like Fireboy being immune to water. Leo was a little taken aback. He wasn't the type to replay levels he'd already beaten. It felt like cheating. Sure enough, Isabelle's cheeks puffed out. Why aren't there more versions? Ugh, if there are no new versions, how can I keep being gaming buddies with Leo? After a moment of thought, she pursed her lips. Then let's watch a movie tomorrow. That works, Leo agreed. He wasn't an idiot. He knew Isabelle wasn't some hardcore gamer. She just enjoyed the process of playing with him. Besides, he could hear her thoughts. Leo gathered the empty snack bags from the coffee table, ready to head home. It was almost midnight, after all. Staying any longer would be a bit inappropriate. Okay, I'm heading back. Get some rest. Wait. Isabelle wasn't ready to let him go so easily. She pointed to a large bag of dog food on the very top shelf of a cabinet on the balcony. Can you help me get that down? I can't reach it. Sure. Without thinking much of it, Leo walked over and reached up for the bag. It was surprisingly heavy and placed way up high. Even if Isabelle had used a stool, she probably couldn't have gotten it down safely. Standing behind him, Isabelle's lips curled into a slight smile as he lifted it down. Thanks. No problem. We're neighbors, after all. As Isabelle opened the new bag to fill Buttercream's bowl, Leo noticed a sky blue notebook sitting on her computer desk, next to the keyboard and mouse. What's this? Leo's curiosity piqued, and he took a step forward, reaching out to flip it open. But before his fingers could touch it, Isabelle moved like a flash, snatching the notebook away. She clutched it to her chest, her eyes wary. Seeing her reaction, Leo pulled his hand back, scratching his head sheepishly. Sorry, I thought it was just a regular notebook. If it's private, I won't look. It's not that it's private, it's just some random, pointless stuff I jot down. Oh my god. He can never see what's in here. If he sees it, I'll just die, Originally, Leo hadn't been that interested in the notebook. But hearing her frantic inner monologue, his curiosity flared. What could possibly be written in there that would provoke such a dramatic reaction? Oh, okay then. I'm heading out. Leo gave the notebook in her arms one last, deep look, then waved and turned to leave. The moment his back was turned, he could feel her let out a massive sigh of relief. Just as he was about to close the door behind him, her voice called out again. Leo, good night. Night, neighbor, he called back, pulling the door shut. The moment it clicked, her voice echoed faintly in his mind. Good night, foot freak. Leo stumbled, nearly face-planting in the hallway. Ever since starting high school, Leo rarely got to sleep in. Even on long weekends, he was working to cover his rent and living expenses, since the measly allowance Brenda gave him wasn't nearly enough. Now that finals were over, he could finally catch up on sleep. So, after getting home, Leo turned off all his alarms and slept until noon the next day. He groaned, stretching luxuriously as he sat up in bed. This is amazing. The world has never seemed so beautiful. The thought of finally getting his parents' survivor benefits back from Brenda's family sent a thrill of anticipation through him. He couldn't wait to see the looks on their faces when they lost the case. Before washing up, Leo ordered a burrito bowl on a delivery app. After eating, he called Kevin to pick him up for another round of driving practice. Leo, after today, we should be good, right? Our skills are definitely good enough for regular roads now. Not yet. We need a few more days. For the big thing we're going to do, if our driving isn't perfect, we could seriously get hurt. Kevin's eyes widened nervously. If you hadn't confirmed you don't have an AK-47, I'd really think you were planning to rob a bank and lead the cops on a high-speed chase. You're overthinking it. It's just that the roads we'll be driving on aren't nice, paved highways. It's mostly mountain roads, so the skill requirement is much higher. Mountain roads? I thought you said we were starting a business. Why mountain roads? Leo, just tell me the plan already. Leo just smiled slyly. Just keep practicing. You'll find out when the time is right. So, they spent another full afternoon practicing, this time driving around the city streets of Crestview since they were both legally licensed. They didn't head back until evening. Leo had just gotten out of the car at the entrance of his complex when he received a message from his neighbor. Isabelle, Leo, I have snacks and drinks ready. Come watch a movie. Leo, roger that, over and out. Leo replied and headed up in the elevator to knock on her door. For the next few days, Leo's life fell into a very predictable pattern. He would sleep until noon, eat lunch, then go practice driving with Kevin. The moment he got back to his apartment complex, a message from Isabelle would pop up on his phone like clockwork. Day 1, Isabelle, Leo, come over and watch a movie. Day 2, Isabelle, Leo, my AC is broken. Can you come help me fix it? Day 3, Isabelle, Leo, Buttercream can break a stone on her chest. Come see. Day 4, Isabelle, Leo, Oscar could do a backflip now. You have to come see. Leo, but yesterday you said Buttercream could break a stone on her chest, and when I got there, you said she was breaking a gallstone in her stomach. Isabelle, well, it was still a stone, wasn't it? Neighbors don't lie to neighbors. Get over here. On the 5th day, after Kevin dropped him off, Leo habitually pulled out his phone. Huh, she didn't message me today. Surprised, he quickly typed out a message. Ran out of excuses today, huh? A reply came back instantly, as if she had been anticipating his exact words. Isabelle, Leo, I knew you wanted to hang out. Why else would you message me first? Hurry up. Leo was stunned. It's a trap. Seeing the near-instantaneous reply, he had to wonder if she was just sitting there, staring at her phone all day. That seemed unlikely. The only other explanation was that Isabelle knew exactly when he got home, every day. At that thought, Leo's head shot up, his gaze scanning the floors above. They lived on the 10th floor, but his 20/20 vision was no joke. He clearly saw a head poking out of the window of Isabelle's balcony. The moment that person saw him looking up, they ducked back inside in a panic. I knew it. She waits on the balcony every day. The second Kevin's Accord drives away, she messages me. The realization dawned on him, and a smile spread across his face. 3 minutes later, Leo was at her door, ringing the bell. Ding-dong. Maybe she was feeling guilty because this time, the door didn't open right away. Just as Leo was about to ring it a second time, it swung open. Isabelle stood there in a ridiculously oversized t-shirt, her expression cool and aloof. She lifted her chin, her gaze as icy as ever. Leo, you can't just come over every day. I'm a very busy person. ? Leo was dumbstruck. He stared at her, her haughty look and slightly annoyed tone completely throwing him for a loop. Whoa, talk about flipping the script. If I didn't have the chat history to prove it, I might have actually believed her. Before he could say anything, Isabelle flicked her hair back and adopted an expression that said, I guess I just can't say no to you. Fine, fine. Since we're neighbors, and you seem to like hanging out with me so much, you can come in. Right. How very kind of you, Leo said, his mouth twitching as he followed her inside. After so many days, Buttercream and Oscar had grown attached to him. Even the skittish Oscar would now jump off the sofa and into his lap the moment he walked in, purring as he licked his hand. Leo stroked Oscar's head and glanced toward the balcony. He noticed that the screen on the middle window was slightly ajar, exactly as if someone had just been standing there. He pointed at the window. So, neighbor, do you stand on the balcony at this time every day, spying on me to see when Kevin drops me off? I do not. Isabelle denied, immediately and righteously. Leo's eyes narrowed. But I just saw someone standing there from downstairs. And you message me at the exact same time every day. It's hard to believe you're not watching from the balcony. Seeing her cover was about to be blown, Isabelle's mind raced. She put on a stern face and pointed at Buttercream, who was lying at her feet. Leo, you were mistaken. It's Buttercream. She waits by the window for you every day. Good girl, Buttercream. Take the fall for your big sister, and you'll get extra treats tonight. Leo followed her finger and looked at the dog. Buttercream, who had been dozing, perked up at being the center of attention. She jumped to her feet, her tail wagging furiously, her tongue lolling out of her mouth, her eyes shining with pure, unadulterated happiness. Leo's mouth twitched. You big dope, you're being sold out, and you're still this happy. He knew Isabelle didn't have any friends besides him. The highlight of her day was probably hanging out with him. And, being smart, she had figured out that he was gone all day and only got home around 6 in the evening. So, she would wait by the window, and the moment she saw him, she'd use some clumsy excuse to get him to come over. Watching her stand there, her cheeks puffed out in a show of confidence, Leo couldn't help but smile. You know, you don't have to wait by the window every day and make up excuses for me to come over. Isabelle froze, her confident expression crumbling. Her eyes dimmed, and she bit her lip. I get it, she mumbled. I'll bother you less from now on. You misunderstood, he said gently. I mean, if you want to hang out, you could just say so. You don't have to beat around the bush. I'm busy during the day practicing driving with Kevin, but I'm free every evening. I can come over whenever. Isabelle's eyes instantly lit up. Then, Leo changed the subject. But I really am busy in the afternoons. If you're that bored, you could do what a lot of other graduates are doing and sign up for a driving school. You could practice in the afternoon, and you'd be done around the same time I get home. That way you wouldn't have to spend the whole afternoon waiting around for me. I don't wait around. I'm very busy. Isabelle pouted, turning her head away. But even as she said it, she was already making a mental plan to have Lester sign her up for a driving school tomorrow. She had actually found out from Lester what Leo and Kevin were doing after the very first day. Now that Leo had suggested it himself, she was determined. She was going to get her license, too. That way, she could go practice driving with him.